Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker. Go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Jeremy. I'm going by level 50, character's name 7 on Diablo 4. The rest doesn't really matter. Just fast forward.
You're only level 50?
I have a job, sir.
This is Aaron. I go by Treffenwood on Discord and Life.
Also has a job.
I do.
No,
It's called playing Diablo.
Yeah.
Career.
I have a job. I work full-time, sir. I've been putting in overtime the last 2 weeks.
Does that mean you work a 3-day shift?
Yeah, I work 3 days.
Hey, I have a freelance job, so you guys know.
I worked 4 days actually the last 2 weeks. For 2 hours on the fourth day. But
So proud of you.
me too. Alrighty. Well, let's see here. Some quick announcements. Parker, good news. You're back down to 1907.
Yeah, buddy.
Only can go up from here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's see. Currently playing, Aaron. I believe you went to a tournament.
I did. Went to a tournament local in Springfield. 15-person turnouts, which is really good. Lots of new players. Not like brand new to the game, but just kind of new to the showing up scene. It was a really good time. Before I left, I asked one of our locals, Quentin, one of the relatively good players, if we wanted to bring competitive lists or funsies lists. I clearly wanted a funsies list. He replied with the negative, so I went with Avengers, being a competitive list, but brand new to me. I'd never played it before, so
That's a shame.
to get there to have fun. Why is that?
Oh, it's a shame he chose not to bring casual lists.
I was ready to bring Sentinels. But like, if I ended up playing him and losing and he wins the tournament, I'd have been pissed. So it's like, fuck it.
You would have been actually upset if Quentin had beaten you?
Not if he beats me. If he beats me because, like, if I show up to, like, casual game night and I'm bringing a casual list and you're bringing a competitive list, it's just not fun. If we're both bringing casual or both bringing competitive, I find the game more enjoyable.
No, that's what
Win
I'm
or
saying.
lose.
Like, if you guys had both brought casual lists.
No, then
Like-
I'd have been fine. But if he
Yeah.
brings his tournament webs list and I bring Sentinels and I lose, I would not have been happy. Let's put it that way. Right or wrong, I would not have been, and I knew I wouldn't have been. So I was like, okay, if you're going to kick ass and take names, so am I. I'll give a...
We're here to take names and kick ass.
Absolutely. So I'll just give some overall highlights. I ended up playing against, let me see, Black Order, Hellfire, Storm, and Webs. I ended up playing against ASM twice. Neither of those was into Webs. So that was pretty interesting.
Huh?
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah, that's I'm very confused.
So he's actually really good in Hellfire.
Okay.
He loves the power. I ran him in my Hellfire list for a while. You know, grab the center line, come back, and he's got 2 power turn 2 for his web swing. It fixes all the problems why you can't play him in webs very well. The problem is, for turn 1 plays, you still want Angela. I was actually running them both for a while, but ended up dropping ASM. So that made sense. And then the X-Men player was running him because it's the whole new fad with X-Men is to run Angela or ASM to quote-unquote guarantee going up 4-1 on extracts because you can hop off Beast and take your opponent's Foxtrots. Extracts with, and then get back. So anyway, it made sense for why they were both running him in those 2 lists. The Black Order player was super interesting. I ended up playing 19 into Thanos, Black Dwarf, Proxima, and Maw. That's a scary list. But he was relatively new, and I was able to outposition him and just not give him the kills. I took Hulk once in 4 games, and I played against big people only in the one Thanos game. So that was kind of nice. We were just a lot of 5v5 in most of the games. Ended up winning all 4, taking down the tournament. Every game was pretty damn close. Like my first game against Hellfire was 18-17, and I only won because Sam did 4 damage to Emma Frost on her Diamond's form with a random shield throw. So super spiky.
He does that.
Sometimes. Like we were just...
Well,
go ahead.
He gets a lot of opportunities.
Right.
Because he's, range 4, long move, charge, ricochet. Like, he gets a lot of opportunities to spike.
Yeah, that's why he does it, yeah.
Angor's cover, which is helpful.
That was actually a Mutant Madman. So that was... I find Mutant Madman Affinity Formula to be the most interesting because once you separate into who's fighting on what side, left to right, it's relatively hard to transfer from one side to the other, unless you're playing long movers like Sam. So anyway, that was a really interesting game. Again, outpositioned Thanos. I just super tight game against X-Men. Just ended up going my way, and then I had. Here's the one takeaway I'll talk about. The finals match against Quentin, a really good player, local, brought his webs list. It was scrolls and portals. So the scroll on the side is co-located with the portal. And I had Bill walk up to the left, and the question is, do you take the scroll first or the portal? Because if you roll a skull on the portal, you get ported, and then obviously you can't pick up the scroll. And if you pick up the scroll and don't roll your wild or crit, you get pushed and therefore can't flip the portal. Jeremy, what do you take first?
Well, you have better odds of not rolling a skull, right?
Are you asking?
Saying you go for the one that's not doing the skull, or the one that the first.
You should definitely choose the one that's less likely to trigger.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I believe that is the scroll.
I concur with Brandon. You have higher likelihood of rolling a crit or a wild on 4 dice.
Yeah, it's
than of not rolling a skull
1 in 4s that you have to hit a 1 of 4 1 in 4s versus not hitting 4 1 in 8s, which is roughly a 50-50.
So anyway, I was able to do that. I flipped it, but then he did all kinds of web shit and pulled me off and took it anyway.
So it didn't matter.
It didn't. But the key to the game was the other side, where he did the same thing with his Spider-Woman, except obviously with only one power. She just was able to pick up the scroll, and she got pushed toward me. Go ahead.
I just want to point out, it does matter. Doing the correct thing will put your opponent in a harder position, regardless if they control you or not. Because if Aaron makes the wrong choice and does the pay to flip and hits the skull, gets ported off, it's so much easier for the webs player in that situation. They don't have to get you off the point, and the objective's still there. And so, by picking it up in the right order, you might actually result in making their job way harder. And so, it does matter. I just want to say that.
The other thing is, I really think extracts are more important than secures.
I agree.
Now, into his webs list, he's stealing everything. He's got Miles, Black Cat, and Spider-Woman. So he doesn't give a shit.
I hate that
so this is really scary for me. It's like, I've got to keep all this shit away from you. I played Voodoo for the first time all year today, or that day. So one key was me deploying Voodoo across from Spider-Woman and Black Cat. I'm like, you're not stealing shit. So his Spider-Woman gets pushed towards me. I then go with Voodoo, and I'm able to possess her turn 1 with a decent roll, sap some power, and pick up her extract. I go first turn 2, and I daze her, and then turn 3 KO her. So having a mystic attacker who can ignore all of his I get to count blanks bullshit on half his team, as well as turning off some of the web's shtick with the possession, really just flipped the game. So it wasn't necessarily over, but it was a huge swing in being able to shut down the right side of the game from play.
Yeah.
And my takeaway from that is you have to have a plan, because double moving Spider-Woman and hoping not to get pushed is not a plan. That might be the best thing you've got, but I would encourage Quentin to take away from the loss of what could I have done better. I think the answer is you either have an eyes play or you have, maybe he needed to have played ASM. I don't even think he's in his roster. But anyway, double moving and hoping is never good for turn 1. So anyway, for any listener out there, don't double move to the center and hope something doesn't happen. Hope something bad doesn't happen to you. That's all I got.
Did he have Gwen in that game?
He did.
Do you think he was hoping that you just wouldn't get him on the first try, and that he could move up and get Gwen in position to keep her safe?
So Gwen obviously went last on that turn, and she was what ended up moving Bill off the point. So it ended up being Black Panther, Miles, and Gwen against Bill and Sam, and then it was Voodoo and my Iron Man against Spider-Woman, Black Cat initially. So obviously Gwen couldn't be on both sides, and she needed to pick one.
So he put the resources somewhere else.
Right, and it got him that point, because I moved Cap on there, but he was able to move both of his models to score it.
Okay. Sounds like a pretty close game.
It was like 18-14 by the end. Yeah, it was good. So yeah, that's what I was currently playing.
Alrighty. So moving on to our main topic today, we're going to be doing some 3-pointer discussion. In continuation with our previous segments that we've done before, we're going to be focusing on models kind of in a vacuum and not with their affiliations. So we're going to be pointing out the model's strength on their own to add value to lists and not with specific synergies. So we're going to go around the table and we're going to be picking characters to highlight, basically. So let's start with Aaron.
Okay, I'm going to pick for my first one Scott Lang, otherwise known as Ant-Man. Almost never see him, but every single time someone puts him on the table, they're impressed with what he does. We just got done talking about you need someone who can steal the center or smash the center, and he does the latter very, very well. Ends up on the center point with a 6-dice builder. It's pretty really good. Mobility is the best in the game, ? And he has a great spender. So he does everything you want except for run away with objectives. So there's my 2 cents on Ant-Man.
I think he is the best 3-point model for mobility. He does also hit pretty hard, which is great. Obviously, the biggest concern with him is his lack of ability to hold on to an extract for a long period. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Ant-Man also.
He also fits into a really great category. A 3-pointer. If you probably can afford a 3-pointer to not hold on to an extract, right? Like that's something you can probably afford, especially if you're taking more than one. So I've always found that there is definitely a spot in my list for a character that's not going to pick up an extract immediately. But at the end of the game, you're like, oh man, I really need someone to pick up an extract. Ant-Man's still alive. It's not like he's, if he is still alive, it's not like he can't do it. He just shouldn't go small then. But you can sacrifice that little bit of mobility at the end of the game. If you're able to, he's still fantastic. I actually want to say that Ant-Man is one of the models we were, especially me, but I think the whole podcast was just so down on for the longest time until somebody finally put him on the table. And we were like, holy shit, this guy fucking moves. His card does not look like it should work. If you've only ever judged him by his card and you went, this just looks ostensibly terrible. Range 1 attack, the ability to shrink, like it's like his defensive stats are meh. Like everything about him seems so meh. And then when you put him on the table, you're like, oh wait a minute, he does a whole bunch of weird things that are totally special and different and useful, not hard to do. Yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is we didn't understand the transformation rules very well when it first came out, and so we didn't realize it was going to be so easy for him to place within range 1 of people. But yeah. So anyway, Parker, you're next.
I'm going to go with one of my favorites. As soon as he came out, I was itching to put him everywhere, is Baron Mordo. I think Mordo is pretty slept on. I don't see him a lot of places, but I think he should be. He's got an awesome toolkit. He's one of those models that you're like, okay, you look at his kit and you're like, oh, he's got to be a support guy, right? He's gaining power by himself so that he can spread negative effects on other characters and do buffs on your damage, which is, by the way, he only spends 2 power for a 2 dice buff. That's fantastic. You take a damage, but there's some characters that don't even care about taking the damage because they can either mitigate it or heal it. So there's lots of ways to combo him. But even if most of the time you're just cool with taking a damage for this ability, especially if you're doing it on a premium character, and you're thinking, oh, that's all he does. But then when you look at his attack suite, he's got a range 3, a range 4, and a spender. Also range 4. That none of them are bad. He's an excellent ranged attacker with good buffs, and on top of it, for some reason, they give him the ability after he's pushed to just immediately advance any direction, not back towards it, but any direction. So you actually have a hard time pushing him off of things. The biggest thing I've actually found for him is that as a medium base, you can also combine him with a bunch of cool stuff like Storm Hop, for example. He's just randomly a size 2 on a medium base, so he can also spread his effects, either the negative or positive, a little bit further out and still be touching that point that he's taking. He's one of the best models, I think, for support. And anytime I'm looking at a model, I'm like, this guy is going to be, unlike some of the other support models in the game, he's going to do something too.
Yep. I just want to say that a lot of people don't realize that he is a very unique model when it comes to scenario. He is a medium speed, medium base with 4 energy defense for 3 points. That is exceptional in its own. The ability for him to cross the table and overflip people on Bs is really interesting, or even any scenario in which that might be warranted. And so I know that Madman is physical, but
Yeah.
it is very relevant on scenarios, considering we don't know that we've seen the last scenarios out.
Sure.
But his ability to cross the table is very impressive for a 3-pointer that can also flip. That's another Ant-Man downfalls. Like, he not only can't hold extracts, but he's bad on pay to flips because so many of them are energy based. So anyway, Jeremy, you're up next.
So I'm gonna go with the model that I always should put in lists, but I never do. I think every list is made better by adding Ghost Spider. She's just freaking amazing. I think that pretty much everything her card is money. She pushes, she pulls, she saves people. And if you get too close to her, or you decide to punch her in the head a little bit and give her some power, she will beat your ass. And then she can also move away after she does it. Just the ability to move things of unlimited size, is crazy. Her lifesaver is amazing.
I agree. You need a strong argument for her to not be in your list, honestly.
Yep.
All right. Next up is me. I'm going to choose Hood. I think it kind of should go without saying, but this we've argued before this might be the best 3-pointer in the entire game, which probably isn't true anymore. It was kind of a snapshot of the meta at the time. But he brings healing, he brings damage, he brings maneuverability, he brings other utility, he brings mystic damage. He is so versatile at a lot of things he does. The only thing he doesn't have is action economy, and he has charge when he's in demon form. So, like, he is a standout in my opinion.
Is it just me, or he has fallen away from my list recently? Has he fallen away from anybody else's? He used to feel like such ubiquitous. I gotta get him in my list. He's so awesome.
Being spread out more is definitely harder on him because you can't play him in like a little brick formation.
Right.
So it's less. It's not as easy to get work out of him over time because he was like, well, I get to attack 4 times and heal somebody, and you're just like, that is so premium. But now it's pretty rare that he can be within range of everybody at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I also think the meta has shifted away from 5 health characters with 3s for defense and nothing else, because there are a lot of like say Logans running around that just eat those people for lunch. So
He
same
does have
thing, Ghost Spider and Hood. I understand Hood has his transform and his DR and whatnot, but it doesn't matter if you just get one shot.
It's true.
Anyway, that I might be wrong, but that's my sense on some of the squishier 3s. Just they used to be able to take 2 hits, and now they can take 1. And if they can only take 1, they're not getting their work done.
Yeah. Conversely, when they don't take, when you do flub against the 3, man, it just does all the math of the game seems to tilt in everybody else's favor. I see your point.
I think also nowadays with how many big models are running around, there's less space for a 3-point unaffiliated.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crux of it. Is people start with their affiliated cheap core and then add a big model to it. So yeah. I think it's interesting what we're talking about is what if you tip on its head? Are there 3-pointers outside of your core that you want to start including?
Yeah,
I say yes.
Aaron, you're up next.
We're gonna go with. We just talked about how the meta is more killy. Who makes your list killier than Baron Zemo? I don't know. Probably the best core set model still left.
Undoubtedly, he's definitely the best.
Long move, charge, counts, rerolls, and gives rerolls to his whole team. He's one of 3 points that slaps.
Multiple abilities to move, like super mobile model.
Yep. Same thing as I'm sure we'll talk about it later. X-23, Steel Rush versus Claw Rush. But what if I told you that his defensive stat line was 4-4-4? Would you play him more? Because I just talked about 3-pointers with a 3-3-3 stat line of 5 health are a liability, and that's what he is.
I think you mean 4-4-5.
That is what I mean. Because people use his reroll on offense, but he also gets it on defense. And I understand that an extra die and a reroll are not quite the same thing, but in my head, I treat them the same. Maybe I'm just a bad player.
On defense, they're fairly comparable.
And Master Swordsman's useful. Is usable on defense. I've seen people use a Master
Yep.
Swordsman and block way too much.
The real fun trick you can get to is if you can actually get him to get extra defense dice, like you throw like a cable in with him, and now he's rolling 5 dice, full rerolls plus another one on top of it, and he's like blocking 4, and you're like, oh, this is actually a problem.
Yep. Anyway, people know the reroll's good, but until you actually play with it, maybe you don't realize exactly how good it is. But he's a solid model without providing rerolls to your team. And then you start adding that. Yeah. He's super, super good.
I would say that he's actually one of those models, in my opinion, that gets better the more friends he has. Like, I think he's much better in a 5 model list than a 3 model list, because oftentimes in your small list you have something really big, really scary, but it can't be taken out by something small, right? Your rapid fire models may not go into him. I think it's a fallacy, but it's possible. So a lot of people will just point everything at Zemo because he usually has to be up close to people to be contributing. He's not contributing from the back; he's contributing from the front, and so he will take all of those. I'm going to throw your size 4 models into someone. Well, it's Zemo. He's right there. Like I have a random attack from downtown that I can't get your big guy, but there's Zemo. He's in range. Here's take 5 Zemo. So he's one of those guys that could feel really like paper, but it's not because he is like paper. It's because if you're playing him with no other dangerous models, and you made your opponent's choice for you, and you put Zemo in harm's way.
I mean, I played him in Hydra. Really good with Hydra. Obviously, Red Skull 2 and him, Death Machines. You can play him in like Shield with all the guns. Just put him back with Rocket and Bucky, and so you don't have to necessarily play him up. You can, obviously, he's gonna get work, but you can keep him back. He provides rerolls on turns, let's say 2 and 3, and then end of that turn he'll move up. So you'll be able to get the rerolls, let's say, for your gun line for 2 turns, and then on that end of that second turn, he'll charge forward and start getting work done. I just think there's a lot of different ways you can play him and get good use out of him.
Another thing about him, we're talking about models that are something special. Still the only long mover with charge, right? There are pseudo chargers out there with long moves, but he's the only long move charge still. Just
Sam?
awesome. Oh, there you go. You got me. He's got a long move charge also.
Yep. Parker, you're up.
I'm gonna go with. Do I want to be silly or do I want to go for like low hanging fruit? I'll go for low hanging fruit to get this out of the way. Black Cat. She's as soon as she was printed, everybody went, oh look, a steal for 3, and a reposition for 2, and a anti big guy spender that only costs 2 and automatically gives you stagger. You can't modify on her, so you can't stack up things that remove models because you absolutely want to remove them, and stealth, long mover. She's got like the perfect kit, not like a sort of kit or like something like, oh, but she doesn't do this. Like, nope, she's the perfect stealer, disruptor. What's funny is that I've even put her in Shadowlands Daredevil, and she has a wild pierce, and so she'll actually kill people because she has a wild pierce. If you give her a reroll, she'll actually down things, which is bonkers. Just one of the best characters in the game, and you should always wonder if your list wouldn't be better with Black Cat. Another one of those characters it probably is.
Are we still 2 years on waiting on the errata for her steal to cost in action?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still. I don't think it's going to happen. I think she'll always just be this.
I don't think their plan is currently to do it.
I guarantee their plan isn't going to. I'll bet 1,000 of Parker's episodes that.
Don't worry, I'll just start banning her from events. Yeah, I think there's 2 of the characters that are going to end up on this list that definitely need to be adjusted, but we'll talk about that later.
I mean, I don't necessarily think she does. I wouldn't complain if she did. Now that single extracts are gone, she's not quite as bad, but again, Jeremy can attest, after playing Quentin a bunch in his webs list, she's still stupid.
Well, my only argument is that if she's just obviously the best model in the game at what she does, then why isn't she in absolutely everyone's list? I don't think that's an interesting game to be. Like, I don't think she needs to be dumpstered, but I think she needs to be put in line with the rest of the models. Or the rest of the models need to be brought up. Like, having strong outliers that are unique in what they do, and what they do is required to play the game, that's not fun.
Why would they do anything? Like, just a side note, why did they do it to Enchantress, but they're not doing it to Black Cat?
That's the frustrating part. Is like they recognized it was an issue and then fixed it and then didn't fix it on the other model.
Yeah, it's really weird.
She was too new. Like they were only touching the first X many models,
Yeah.
and Black Cat didn't fit in that time frame of release.
Yeah. Not to get on the whole topic, but like I don't see how she's in 90% of rosters and you just don't care. Anyway, moving on. So Jeremy, you're up.
The one that I've never actually put in a list, but I always look at him and I think, man, that he's got to be good, right? Scourge. He comes with 2 power. Like, so turn 1, he is live for his bodyguard action. He moves medium. He's got a strength 6 axe builder for a 3 threat. That seems pretty damn good. Yeah, and again, he has 2 power, so he can bodyguard or whatever he does for the power he comes with, which is pretty freaking good.
Also has a throw.
Does he? Yeah, like I think he's a solid model, just top to bottom. And
if this model was released a year prior, he would have been in every fucking list.
Yeah, like for pay to flips, he's great. Like he can pick something up, he can try a pay to flip. Like he's got a lot of good things he can do.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a model I've yet to put in a list. I should try him out.
Mm-hmm. I've only played him a couple times, but he felt good in those games.
He's annoying as shit when someone decides to put him in lists. I've had to play against him a few times.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. I am up. I am choosing some low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, especially in today's meta. Iron Man. Being able to add Helios Laser to any list in the game is more than double worth the price of admission. Not that I think Helios is overpowered. I just think it is the answer to certain meta styles, and if you're not playing the answer, you're getting punished. So he's also just a good 3-pointer. No one's going to argue that Iron Man's not worth his points.
Talk about a model that went from 0 to hero, right? Like he was never seen until
people were arguing he's the worst model in the game, and they were so dead wrong.
Oh no, he wasn't. But people thought he was because he's such a static turret, and they decreased his the power cost for Friday AI by 1, which was a great quality of life thing. And then they printed Helios Laser, and they're like, well, Helios Laser is so strong, and you can get it for 3 points instead of 6. But that just talk about. I actually love that from a design standpoint. They're like, we need to make this model more relevant. Let's make a slight tweak to his card and then print a tactics card in another box. I like that a lot.
I think Iron Man's in a very an absolute perfect space. Like he is perfect. He doesn't go in every single list because it's not appropriate for every single list. But he's fucking awesome in some lists.
Mm-hmm. He is.
My Iron Man always underperforms. Like if he did not have Helios Laser, I would be shelving that dude. And I realize it's a me issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I play Iron Man, I'm like, Friday AI whiff. Like
I mean, anytime you're doing a dice pump type character, if you get a bad couple of early rolls, it feels punishing because it's supposed to. Like if it wasn't supposed to be that way, it wouldn't be that way. But when you hit like a couple big attacks and you're just like, you've got fuel for the rest of the game, it feels so good.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be swingy. Like it's not supposed to be amazing every time.
Yeah.
It's not squeal and die, okay? It's not as good as that.
Okay. So Aaron, you're up.
I'm going to go with a little bit of a dark horse, I think, and say Groot. I think almost every list would be better with Groot in it, or should be considered. The dude has 7 health, 4 physical. Yeah, he's got the weakness to the energy. But he throws unlimited size, has a stagger, and gets to heal. And Root, which is probably the best status condition to give out in a big boy meta. Like everything on this guy's card is fire, except for the short move. Just ignore that.
I don't think he's actually very relevant outside of like the synergies of playing him with Rocket. As a 5-point package, I think Rocket and Groot should be splashed in a lot more. But I think just on his own, he's not that impressive. But I think he's got good tools, like you said. I don't think he's bad. If somebody just played Groot randomly, I would not call them an idiot.
Okay. I would call them better than that.
Hmm.
Insightful.
His
I
card
remember
also.
when
Go ahead.
Root first came out, and I kept thinking, man, this seems like it's really good, but like, what the fuck do you even like? Who do you put this on? Like, who is? Yeah, and then the big guys started coming out, and you're like, that guy, put it on that guy. That guy needs it.
Mhm.
Also, We Are Groot is one of the best healing cards in the game. Within range 4, everybody heals 2. Like if you
Mhm.
have it doesn't matter if you have a tall guy list or a smaller list. It gets really useful really fast.
It's a table flipper.
Yeah, it can feel super good.
I'm just saying, no matter the cost, I am Groot when your opponent's not expecting it for a throw and
Yeah.
stagger that
Uh-huh.
doesn't require dice. Like, yeah, I'll take that over Thor any day.
Yes, and then if you have the power, you can just heal it.
Yep.
He's one of those guys that if you leave him on 1, which 7 health happens, then you're just like, God damn it, because he's just coming
Mhm.
right back.
I haven't played him a lot, but in the handful of games I've played him, probably 6 to 8, he does get one-rounded fairly often because he doesn't have DR, he doesn't have dice mods. It's just, average 3 defense with 7 health. And a lot of people in today's meta are getting through that a lot more than they used to, like you were saying earlier.
Yep.
But when they don't, it is punishing. It is very punishing.
Well, I can tell you, Blade's not getting through it ever.
Well, that's just because Blade never gets to attack.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Blade
like,
dies constantly.
I can name 150 models that would, yeah.
I think in just 2 of our games, Groot killed your Blade. And then Blade was too busy to detect Groot back later on.
So I actually think he has played less than he should be because people consider him a package with Rocket. And I would
That's
challenge
fair.
any listener out there to play him and pick your affiliation aside from Rocket for 4 or 5 games and see how he feels. He may not be an auto-include in your list, but I think he'll feel better than most people think he will by himself.
For every listener that lets us know that you're playing Groot or have tried Groot, we will give Parker an additional 5 demerits.
Why?
Okay.
Why? I want him to be played. This makes no sense.
Well, that's exact. Yes, true. Yes,
Okay.
that's why.
You're not allowed to be happy. I've only covered
That-
that.
Got it. Got
Park,
Got
you're
it.
up.
I'm actually going to go with a real dark horse that I have come to love because I know what she does. It's not printed on her card, and that's Supergiant. Supergiant actually should go in a lot of lists. She is disruptive for multiple kinds of scenarios because she's difficult to remove. She's also one of those toolbox characters that if you look at your opponent's list and you're like, huh, that's almost exclusively physical attacks. Supergiant? And they go, oh no, I can't do a thing. Also, one of the side hustles she has, it's not printed on her card anywhere, is she will have all the power. And unless you want to, play Yahtzee and try to roll her Devastate Intellect, if you need something like, you want to spend power on MODOK to reroll his dice, or you want to do Helios Laser, and you want a character to just sit there and accrue a lot of power, she will have that. She will have a lot of power. And like I said, in some matchups, be untouchable, literally. A really interesting toolbox character that I don't see people ever toolbox.
After playing her like 5 games with MODOK 2, she was very fun, and I think anyone who plays MODOK without her is probably making a mistake to at least not try it. She, just like Parker said, she has infinite power, and every physical attack just goes in her. Like, Logan came into me once, he's like, double Tornado Claw, and I'm like, cool, Supergiant takes 4, and he's like, is that really all that happens? Like, there's literally nothing else that can happen. He's like, no! And I was like, and then she's gonna Devastate Intellect you, and you're like, wait, what? Just like explodes him. You're like, oh no. It was a very fun matchup
For one of you.
Mm-hmm. I think I actually lost that game, but it was Wolverine did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that is the thing though, is she is going to contribute like that. If you're like, I need a workhorse character, she's not really that.
Nope, it's not it. Yeah,
Not it.
it's like a Snorlax. It's like, what would you like to do now? It's like, apparently nothing. You're like, that's correct.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, you're up.
Well, I'm going to take Shuri. So Shuri's broken. I don't know that she's okay for the game. I'm just glad that no one likes her for some reason. Range 5 push on pretty much most relative models. She gains power just fine, and then she lets people reroll for some god awful reason. I don't know why. Yeah, 3 points, pushes models off things, and has a range 5 gun. And then if you give her a bunch of power, she will punch you really, really hard. Then if you attack her, you give her more power, and that's fine too, because it's just more rerolls. Yeah, it's an AoE, or it's a range 4 to give people rerolls. It's pretty silly. So I always like to attach her basically right next to a big guy or somewhere around a big guy and just give that big guy rerolls all day long and make the dice super premium. Pretty good stuff.
Yep, I think Shuri is less broken in today's meta with the wider scenarios because it's less relevant per individual control. But she's still, I absolutely hate playing against her. She, for the longest time, you could basically play whatever you wanted in MCP, and it was fine until like Shuri became prevalent, and then it was just like, yep, your random 4-pointer just doesn't get to play the game, and you're like, okay, well this isn't cool because not only am I down a 4-pointer because all they can do is try and get back in the game every turn while you just double push them, but then Shuri's contributing. In addition to that, she could be standing on a point and giving out rerolls, and she's just like double staggering people effectively, and it's just so punishing. And so yeah,
Pretty bad.
in the models that get played, it's less relevant because a lot of those models have maneuverability, but it is one of the most negative play experiences things you can experience.
They've created a lot of size 4 models now, or bigger. Even, 4-point or 3-point size. Or is there any 3-point size 4s? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. They're all 3s.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's a bunch of 4s out there now, so it's not as relative as it used to be. You can't push those.
Well, it didn't originally used to be capped.
Yeah. Back when Wakanda was king.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Also, they've been giving out aggressive to a lot of characters, and a lot of it gave it to a whole affiliation. Like, so when Shuri plays into Shield, she's like, "Oh man," like it's not fun.
I used to play original Sabretooth just to deal with Shuri.
Yeah. But now there's
like,
so many models that Shuri.
It's like, move long with aggressive. I'm coming for you. Like, I'm going to be there next turn. Yeah. Cool. All right. So that was Jeremy. So I'm up next. I'm doing it. Punisher. Everyone should play Punisher.
I knew it. I'm just waiting for that to drop.
People, I don't think enough people have put Punisher on the table. He is a weird anomaly of abilities. He has maneuverability. He has rapid fire, automatic, not requiring dice results. He's got a range 5 attack. He's got pierce. Like, he's got a huge amount of things he can do. He can also destroy terrain up to size 3. He can do auto damage past defense. He can do a lot of stuff.
I have no notes. A lot of people always talk about how like fantastically offensive X-23 is. He should kill at least at least as many things as she will, if not more. Like, I think. You just named off all the things that people like about a lot of other models in the game, but yet this guy doesn't get a lot of love. He's superb.
Yeah. People underestimate like his ability to reach out and just get somebody on the turn you need it, which is also potentially, was he give out slow and stun if he deals damage, I think it is. Yeah, stun and slow if he deals damage with his aim shot. And you can move medium, move short, shoot at range 5 with 10 dice. Like, he can just pick any point on the table and attack it with a high value attack. And that's very underrated.
Hey, Brandon, I don't like to tell you you're right, so it pains me to do this, but you're right.
Yeah.
Perrin loves playing Punisher in Shield. He has scenario play, walk up, shoot things, gain power, slide onto the point, do shit with it. He actually prefers him over Bucky. And Bucky probably has better overall power output, but it's going to spike at some point during the game, whereas the Punisher, you get to tell the dice when they spike.
Yeah.
Isn't that
with
just
caveats? But yes.
Isn't that just crazy though? Just saying the words, yeah, Punisher is outperforming Bucky. Like, how is this model like Bucky is insane in my opinion. Bucky should be adjusted. He's too good, and like Punisher is like outperforming him in some matchups.
Yeah. Also, we sleep on this card, but I've stared at this card for a while, and I don't think it's bad, especially if you're putting him in a list with a whole bunch of bullets like Shield, or maybe Shadowlands Daredevil. Blood Red and Personal, I think Blood Resident Personal says Punisher spends 4 power and probably you get 2 victory points. I think
Perrin agrees.
there's
So
space for that in the meta. I do not think that is too hard to do.
I am not a fan of this card. However, if you were going to play it anywhere, you should play it in Shield. So I think Perrin is doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And because the problem is, if you're playing like a shoot 'em up, kill 'em all list, you're generally not scoring that many points. Like, you can score a decent amount of points, but you're not keeping up usually. So 2 points isn't making the difference. You're winning because you're crippling their force.
Right.
And so killing 2 of their people probably means you're just going to win anyway. But in Shield, that might equate to you winning now. And so it is valuable in that matchup.
Plus, he gets tokens for the grunts dying, so there's just lots of synergies for Shield.
100%. Anyway, Punisher's my pick. Aaron, you're up.
I'm going to take the lowest of hanging fruit, that is Lizard.
Oh, that's not the lowest hanging fruit.
That's not the lowest.
What?
That's the second. Well, I even
by
know it's
far
the second,
the lowest.
honestly.
By far.
All right. Well, we'll agree that you're wrong and disagree.
Continue.
Okay. So obviously,
Because I know what Parker's picking.
Okay. If you want a model to grab an objective and have the best chance of all of the 3s to not dying, it's Lizard. He does everything. He's got a medium base with a medium move for all that shit you talked about Mordo doing. Like, he does the same stuff. His defensive stats, 4-3-3, bunches of health with DR, and a throw and a push. So I'm moving, I'm living, and I'm displacing. About the only thing he doesn't do is damage, and his spender is not bad. It's spot on for what you want a spender to be. I'm
personally more of a fan of just hitting them with the throw, but yes.
Totally agree. I will throw over the spender most of the time. But I don't know what else. I don't know how they could have designed a better point/extract holder in a 3-point shell than Lizard. I'm not saying you want that in your list, but if you do and don't grab Lizard, I want to know why.
Yeah, this is the most obvious go-to. Like, he's exactly what you want in a tank. The only argument you could make is that he doesn't have taunt, really.
But you don't want your extract holder generally to have the taunt, right? You don't want.
Correct.
So they did a good job of not. I think it would have been weird if they.
Well,
given it
it's
to him
assuming
instead
you
of
want him to
something
be
else.
an extract holder. Like,
Right.
He's fine at doing it, but I don't know that he's, particularly, he's not mobile, but he is hard to kill.
Did you mention exceptional healing, Aaron, as well?
I did not mention that specific strategy. No.
He has healing factor though, so he does in fact get to play exceptional.
Yeah.
All right, Parker, what is actually the lowest hanging fruit left?
It's Winter Soldier, right?
God damn it, you guys! I'm gonna have a fucking.
You're gonna say Valkyrie or some shit, and I'm gonna be mad. But here we go.
It's obviously War Machine.
Oh my god!
Continue.
So I actually changed my answer because I thought this was the lowest hanging fruit. I think Winter Soldier is. I think he got an enormous buff. He was another one of those maligned bottles. He was down there with Iron Man before the big reset of the cards. But when he got his new card, I think everyone on this podcast, we all went like, wait a minute, what? They gave a range 5 model with rapid fire. What? Like, what? Because that was the big equalizer of all rapid fire models, is they're all close range. They all have to move to get into range, but they gave a model that can move himself. He has a displacement ability which is farther than range 2 if you get the right model to jump over, a range 5 attack. And there are so many different affiliations that can, or just a tactics card that can give him a power on turn 1, so he can be double tapping on turn 1. As soon as when he double taps on turn 1 and he's got 3 power at the end of that turn, you don't care what else happens, because for the rest of the game he's just going to be doing so many dice. He's one of those models that you give him one hammer and he does so much with that one hammer. It is crazy. He's if you don't want to give him a hammer, give him a lockjaw buff or a craven buff. It's the same difference. And then if you ever decide to go close to him, he hits you with the Red Fury and just knocks you down, clocks you way out of his league. He'll knock you down.
So I played him in Hydra a bunch, and getting to sit back in a little bubble with Strucker, who's giving him strategic genius, and also giving him a target to hop onto with his Hydra tactics. He can get into Spetsnaz range if they're at all close to you. And so then you're getting strategic genius plus Spetsnaz. He also is the designated pick up the backhammer guy, like you were saying. And he can quickly get to 5 dice rapid fires with 2 rerolls. and he absolutely fucking shreds people.
Yep.
And he hits like a 5-pointer. It's nuts. And then in Hydra, with Strucker's leadership also, when he applies his bleed, he gets to heal 1. So he becomes really tanky also, because he's getting the defensive reroll, and he's getting to place out of range of a lot of attacks with his Hydra tactics. He is absolutely nuts.
As soon as you give him a reroll with something like Shadowlands Daredevil, a Hydra buff, yeah, he's good without the reroll. But when you give him a reroll, he just feels so tilted.
So I think he's fine without buffs or rerolls. Like, obviously there are lots of synergies, but if you look at just the model and the stat card, 4 dice rapid fire is nothing to write home about. I don't care what the range is. It's not horrible. What really sets his model apart for me is Red Fury and Hydra Tactics.
Yeah.
That shit is insane. For reasons you talked about, right? Like, I'm gonna Hydra Tactics over. I'm gonna be with him 1 for Spetsnaz. I'm gonna do 7 dice followed up by a rapid fire. Like, it's stupid silly. So heaven help you if you ever daze Winter Soldier and then can't KO him before he activates. At that point, he's punching far above his weight class.
Yeah. I actually disagree. I think the range 5 is too much. The ability for him to sometimes not even take a move action and just attack the entire game is so silly. I think it's too much.
I mean, I wouldn't complain if he went to a 4, but I think,
yeah, going down to range 4 or losing the rapid fire, I understand they wanted to get him on the table, but I think they just went too far. Not to mention, like, I've got your back triggering rapid fire and getting multiple attacks on your opponent's turn is just silly.
There have been so many times that I've got your back before my opponent got a second action. It's happened so many times. They're like, my first action, daze the model. Or, oh my gosh, if somebody ever throws before they do an action, and then I daze them, and they go, oh. And I'm like, yep, and my turn. Yeah. Like, it's a whole game. It's so good.
Anyway, Jeremy, you're up. Can you tell Aaron what the lowest hanging fruit left is?
Is it Mystique?
God damn it.
I love that we can't figure out what the lowest...
You're going to fucking make me say it, aren't you?
I love it that no one can figure out what the lowest hanging fruit is.
I think you're trolling me. I think everyone knows. It's not
we're all
a secret.
Picking really good contenders. I don't know what you're thinking. Go, Jeremy. Your answer is correct.
Deception is stupid and broken and should not exist the way it is. But it does exist.
You are correct. You fucking nailed it. Good job.
Yep, that's basically it. Model moves. Turn 1, first model moves. Goes to pick something up. Game is fair and also fun. Mystique moves. Dragged model in. Model dies. You get sad face. Don't understand what you're doing. Wishes to quit game. Doesn't understand game. Goes and plays a different game.
Yeah. This card is the whole reason you need safe extractors. I actually dislike Mystique from a design perspective a lot because she's got so many obvious weaknesses built into her card. She's one of the most fair models, I think, with the exception of like her shapeshifter ability. They built in a lot of counterplay because she has that strong effect. But then they printed this fuck-busted tactics card. I don't know what to say about it. This card is so dumb. Because, so she's a rapid-fire model with martial artist, which is a nice combo because you can just stand at point-blank range and be reasonably survivable. But then she's really weak to mystic attacks. She doesn't have action economy, so it's hard for her to, get into position without getting exposed. I think she's actually a very fair model on her own, which is why I wouldn't pick her for this list. But the tactics card is, just so pants on head. I don't understand. It's so hard to not justify her in any list that's designed around either killing or going up early on extracts. Anyway, I guess we're going to move on to my pick. I feel like I should not pick the obvious model and make you guys keep going, because I really didn't want to pick this model.
I think that's what you should do.
this model.
I think that's what you should do. I would love it if you didn't say it, and then see
so
how long it takes.
Okay.
It's going to take forever. I'm going to make him say it at the end.
I'm going to fire all of you. I'm going to outsource to Colin and Nigel.
I'm going to go with my next... Go ahead.
No, I have to pick a different model. I'm just blinded by rage. I can't even fucking pick it.
All you can see is red.
I'm just so bad. We're pretty much in the area where they're all just above average models now, except for the one obvious one, and so it's hard to pick one.
I am so excited to find out what the above average one is.
It's so obvious. Oh my god.
If we're talking above average models, it's X23.
Okay, fine. We'll do it. He said it.
Okay.
She's well the fuck above
Please, AMG, do something about this fuck busted model that needs to be adjusted. This model is so dumb.
She is.
You could remove any 2 rules off her card, and she'd still be well above average.
I think her spender needs to cost 3, honestly.
It needs to not move. She needs to lose the reroll. She shouldn't have assassin or whatever the fucking thing is where she gets to move and attack again. Like any number of those things are all too much. She's a 4-point model, 100%. Logan is a pushed 4-point model. She is a semi-fair 4-point model.
She is to like attrition what Black Cat is to scenario.
Right.
You're just like every
she's
single
so
thing you could
overly
possibly
designed.
want.
Yeah. You can't name a thing that she can do that isn't already better than it should be.
Is she the Cable of 3-point models?
She's the X23 of 3-point models.
Oh.
Like, there's no exception. Like, this model makes Lizard look like a fair statted model. And Lizard is crazy overtuned, in my opinion.
I don't know. I'm I'm pretty exhausted by having X23 kill my entire army. But I'm not 100% sure that she's a 4-point model, but she certainly has some over-tuning going on.
The list of 4-point models that outperform her is short.
Okay.
Very short.
I agree. I think that she's probably...
Let me show you this Black Dwarf model, and we can compare effectiveness of strategy. Like, come on. This model is so overpushed.
I think exceptional healing is the bananas
If
part.
you take exceptional healing out of the game, she's still exceptional. She shouldn't have the reroll at all, and she shouldn't have the assassin at all, where she gets to berserk. If you got rid of both of those, she's still good.
You're talking about the move is called Frenzy. The assassin training. is
Frenzy.
what they
Yeah,
call
if
it.
she didn't have Frenzy or assassin training, she's still a good model.
So
I think
always
both of those abilities need to be much more expensive. I think it's fine that she has them. They just need to be much more expensive.
So I always
They're
compare her to
basically
Zemo, right? I mean, they're very...
Yeah.
You bring them for the exact same thing. Ish. Like, they're both murder
Mhm.
bots. Zemo has some team synergies, whereas she is pure murder. I'd have to do a deeper analysis as to their actual die rolls to see which one actually kills more if you're Master Swordsmaning. But I think it's technically Zemo. But he wasn't fuck busted.
Zemo doesn't have Pierce. Like, it changes the math dramatically. The average 3-point model is blocking 0 against her.
I
It's
don't know.
so easy for her to get there, and Zemo doesn't get 3 attacks. Like, that's the problem. Is if you, in a number of attempts, it's common to see her hit double Pierce, kill a 3-point model, or even a 4-point model, and frenzy into yet another attack.
So I think, I mean, yes, she has the frenzy. She has the move on her spender just like Zemo. She doesn't have a charge. I think her ceiling is higher, but her floor is lower. I mean, I've played her a decent amount. Sometimes she just flubs a die roll, and she's like, well, I'm not killing anything, not frenzying.
But how is she worse than Zemo if they're both flubbing die rolls?
Zemo has action economy on his card. She doesn't. She has to roll to get it.
What does she have to... Oh,
Frenzy.
because you're saying charge? But she
Yeah.
has a range 3 attack that moves in. That's way more readily
Same as
available.
Zemo. The exact same. He has the exact same attack, plus charge. Now,
Okay.
I think both models are very good, and I agree that she is a above the curve 3-pointer. I just don't know that she's so above the curve that like she's the best 3-pointer in the game.
I think it's unquestionable she's the best combat 3-pointer in the game.
I might give you that.
Right,
But-
that's what I'm arguing. Like, clearly she's not Gwen, right? Like, they're different. But if you're just like, I want to put a model in a box and have it kill all the other models in the box, like, it's X23, it's not even close. Zemo is a fair comparison, I think.
Sure. I think there has to be a best in attrition 3-pointer. I'm just trying to think right now if I actually think she needs to be toned down, or if
I think she does.
she exists the way she does now. I don't know.
So right now, of all the models we've talked about, the only models I think need to be looked at are Black Cat and X23. Because they're so clearly Paragon, obvious, best at their position, that it's actually boring and dumb. Like, it takes so much away from the breadth of models in the game. Because any model that you go, I want to try and kill stuff, let me look at models I can kill stuff with. It's X23, 5 blank spots, maybe Zemo, move on. The same thing with Black Cat. It's like, well, I want a 3-pointed, like, scenario piece. Like, well, it's Like, Miles should be on this list, and he's not even included because Black Cat is so overtuned. The model with spider senses and stealth and a range 3 place is worse at surviving than Black Cat. Like, that's what's annoying with this for me.
Okay.
It's like they've just printed the best thing that you can have, and then no one's ever going to compete with them.
I mean,
That's
I'm
why
on
I
the
don't like
Miles
it.
Steel shit pretty well hype train, so
He does fine, but like it's actually harder for him to do it because his costs an action and hers doesn't. And you can mission objective his, you can't mission objective hers. Like, it's dumb. They designed it to just be better.
I concur, and that's okay because Miles actually gets more work done than she does.
That's
Obviously,
absolutely
different
true.
models.
Absolutely true. So Miles is a closer comparison, in my opinion, to Black Cat than Zemo is to X-23, just because she has no maximum kill limit. Like, she can actually legitimately run the entire table on her own sometimes when she just gets the dice, and Zemo can't. Zemo can kill 2 people a turn, and that's absolutely it.
Like I said, her ceiling is higher. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Aaron, you're up.
Oof.
Passing is an option.
No, we're not gonna.
Yeah,
pass.
there's too many good ones left.
Okay. I will talk about one more, and that's it, and that's Red Guardian. And you can't talk about Red Guardian with at least mentioning Luke Cage and why I picked Red Guardian over Luke Cage. And the simple fact is Red Guardian hires himself. So his card, Comrade's Keeper, he pays for, as opposed to the important model they are protecting. He also has, I think, size unrestricted pushes.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
His strike is size 3 or less. Other size 3, sorry. Size 3. The card might be size unrestricted, but his actual...
The card is.
Yeah. But he has size 3 displacement from his strikes and his shield slam. So whereas Luke Cage is actually more tanky, Red Guardian provides the tank you need with the displacement you want. And I don't know a list that doesn't want that in it.
I think it's so funny because he's got exactly Black Panther's strike, basically. He's got Captain America's shield slam, and he's got Taskmaster's shield throw. It's so funny.
Yeah. In Soviet Russia.
In Soviet Russia, Black Panther is you. This model definitely needs to see the table more. I totally agree with you. I really wanted to say him earlier.
I wish that he doesn't, because he bothers the shit out of me.
He's really good.
He's so annoying.
Yeah, I think we need to take a second to talk about Comrade's Keeper, because I don't think people understand. So I actually think it's a negative that, well, it can be and it can't be. Comrade's Keeper, Red Guardian has to spend instead of the target, like you were saying, the difference between Heroes for Hire and Comrade's Keeper. I think that's a bad thing sometimes, because it's actually kind of hard for him to keep power sometimes. But assuming that the person they're targeting needs power too, then it's better. You place Red Guardian within 2 instead of within 1. So he actually has like a more freedom on the place. And then regardless, if he suffers damage from the attack and is not dazed, he throws any size target away from himself, which is really cool.
Yeah. As somebody who plays a lot of the big guys, he is the one you don't want to see.
Yeah. And the other thing is he can spend 2 to count blanks on defense against not Mystic, which is pretty good. And it's at any range.
Yeah, he can become a perfect martial artist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is pretty cool. And so if you have the 4 power, it's actually really hard to get him down, because you're talking about trying to do probably 7 or 8 damage on a single attack. And even if you do, it's like, okay, I just don't get to throw you. Like, it's fine. He also has the +1 power if he's damaged by a friendly or enemy effect. And so he generates a lot of power once he starts taking damage.
I like him.
Yeah. Have you tried him in Hellfire?
I have not.
He was on the very short list for my Avengers What Blanks, like, defensive style.
Yeah.
And the only reason why he's not in there is because I don't have him painted. But
I had him in my Hydra list, where it was the I pick who you target with Venom, Red Guardian, and Sacrifice. So I had Sacrifice, Lethal Protector, and then Comrade's Keeper. And so it was all just making sure Red Skull 2 never dies.
Yeah. I played him in a Doctor Strange-based Avengers list with Steve. And so it was Steve, Red Guardian, Strange. Nobody ever took damage. They just stood in a triangle like, I would just like to be here forever. And they're like, I guess you get to be here forever. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Parker, you're up.
I was actually going to go Red Guardian, and I was excited because I thought it was a hot
Mm.
take. So I'm going to go.
It was
so-
a hot take.
It was. So I'm
Not
gonna,
really. I was going to name him too.
So I was going to. I think it's a hot take because we all agree, but I don't think people.
Mm.
I think he's hot in the meta.
He's definitely slept on.
Right. So I'm going to go for one of my favorite models and characters in the whole game. I just love to play him, and Lockjaw. Lockjaw is one of those super enabler supporters where you're like, okay, well, I really would like to do this really strange thing on turn 1, or I want to make sure my army has a lot of maneuverability always. He will just have that. He can double teleport on turn 1. He doesn't need like a power strategy like some mover characters do, like an affiliation that's going to help, like Avengers or A-Force or Dark Dimension. He can just, you put him down, he will get to move your army a lot. Also, Interdimensional Bloodhound is a slept-on thing. People always talk about, man, what if my character had a hammer? You're like, well, what if you just gave your whole army a hammer against that guy you wanted dead? As it turns out, that's awesome, especially if you can multiply it with attacks. He works really well in big guy lists. He works really well in small guy lists. If you have the ability to heal models, his tactics card becomes even better. It's okay besides that. It's kind of hard to pull off because you're using his power on his abilities a lot. But if you have the ability to save somebody who then heals a bunch, and then they're just right back in the fight, it is so punishing. I think Lockjaw is a super cool card, and we were really scared of him for a while, and then he never really made a big splash in the meta, but I think he should.
I was very upset that he got printed.
Yeah, you were really mad about it, but we never really saw him around.
Well, I don't think the pool is right yet, but man, there was some Malekith running around with Lockjaw, and it was so annoying. My only real problem with him is that he can teleport people that are within range 3. I think that's really the key. He can do it from so far away. He just manipulates the table to such a crazy degree. There's no counterplaying it. And so if you get in a matchup and it's like, it just is the hard counter to counter control. And so it's just annoying. I think he does too much. I think a model like that probably should exist, but I think it's just a little too overtuned, which creates a future proofing kind of barrier. Like now you can't make models that just need mobility anymore because you just take all the models that need mobility and he turns them to 11 and you can't do anything about it. That's kind of my problem.
I think it's really funny. I feel like there's a theme with you. I think you think 3s are overtuned. You're on there. You think you've used this word 5 times this cast. This 3 is overtuned. This 3 is overtuned.
Well, we're intentionally talking about the models that stand out, right? So,
well, we also talked about that. There's 56, 3-pointers. So when there's 56 of them, a bunch of them are bound to be above the curve, right?
No, so that's fine. But the returning factor of what upsets me in model design is when you make something so far skewed to one aspect that nothing could ever compete with it. I think that's dangerous game design. Mm-hmm. So let's say you made a model that was just so hard to kill, you just can't. Like, it just can't be killed. You're like, okay, well, not only could nothing ever compare to that now, and it's always the first choice at doing what it does, but also it creates a situation where we have to make sure for the rest of the game, something being unkillable is not overpowered. And it just puts you in kind of this weird space where it probably would be better if you just toned it back a bit, and it would cause a lot of those problems to relieve.
To be fair, one of the things that is a big negative to Lockjaw is he just does that. He does that really well. Yeah. But he is not a fantastic attacker. He's not going to sit on a back point and contribute dice to the game.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Only if you don't count the dice he adds to the game.
True. The dice.
Like, Jesus Christ, Parker.
But he has to go first. That can create a lot of there are some times where it doesn't work.
It's out of activation, so you can't really capitalize on it without follow me. If only he had enough power to play follow me, that would be dangerous.
Maybe he
did. But I know he's not tearing up the meta. I don't think he's currently toxic or anything. Mm-hmm. So it's just I'm just concerned. The more we create more models, anything that's ever just got a hole in the mobility category becomes very dangerous.
Right.
And I'm not a fan of the early turn 1 play stuff, and he is almost always tied up in those really early jank shenanigan crap. And so Like when we were talking about like herbs and stuff, like Lockjaw was always like a big contributor
Right,
to those
right.
weird plays. I don't like that stuff, and so I think it's just a little too much.
It's funny. Anytime anyone was like, "Is this abusable?" Wait, check if Lockjaw's around. Like that's always the thing. Yeah, that's true.
And so like that's a perfect example. They can never make another mission like that because he exists. A Tactics card got errated because it had his ability printed on it. Like that's the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Right.
Anyway, Jeremy, you're up.
I'm just gonna go one more, and it's I played him last week, and it is as crazy as I imagined it. Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos. These crazy motherfuckers for 3 points. Basically, they're like Zombocom. The world they
There's
do.
no limit.
Yeah, there's no limit to your imagination.
The only limit is you.
Yeah. They've got range to everything. They place themselves. They place their friends. What kind of gun you want? We got that. We shoot it. We shoot it again. We shoot it more times.
Give it some DACA.
Really, their only thing that's not great is the fact that they can just be shot to death and killed. Like, there's nothing that
They're
really
just
stops
humans.
it. Yep, they're just dudes, and if you point at them and shoot them, they will die.
Mm-hmm.
But until that moment, they will give you hell. Like, they will
That's
shoot
kind of
you
just
to
reminiscent
death.
of all of S.H.I.E.L.D., honestly. They're just a bunch of people
They're just
that
dudes.
shoot the piss out of you.
What happens when you just give them all machine guns, like, and go? Like, that's what they do. But I tell you, they're really good. Nah, that's it.
Well, I completely agree. What I will say though is they spend their power very poorly. So rather than shoot them, check their power level, and if they don't have any, don't shoot them. It's an easy way to neuter them because they like to got your back. They like to do all these really cool things. Problem is they only have a gainer, and most people treat them like domino, and they're like, okay, I'm going to walk forward. I'm going to
grenades.
That's right. I'm going to throw the grenades because I want to incinerate you. And now they have no power, and then they power up for one next turn, and they can't flip, and they can't got your back. And then people are like, well, they're just humans. I'll attack them, like Jeremy said, which is right. You need to kill them. But there's a time to kill them, and it's after they've activated because they won't have the power to do any of that fun shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, just some thoughts for playing against them. They can be really good. I highly am liking Jeremy's pick of them. But they have a glaring weakness in my mind, and that's their power gen.
What is it? They can shoot you 4 times.
Yes.
Which is
with
they
6
have
power.
Yeah. They have an attack called The Show's Over, and its ability Pour It On is basically rapid fire, except it doesn't have targeting restrictions. And so you just make another attack, and you're like, oh, well, this is cool.
Yeah, it's just... I'm like, is this a 3-point model? Like, it really goes crazy. The only difference is I'm like, wait, they only have 5 health on the front. And like, like... And their stats are not great, so they're not very survivable, but goddamn, they will attack and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. I think in general, it's very important to be hyper aware of your opponent's power when you're playing against S.H.I.E.L.D., knowing exactly what abilities they have access to, how much power is on everybody, specifically Nick. Like, there's a lot of stuff you have to really pay attention to that in a lot of matchups, it's not as important. Anyway, let's see. So I get another one of these?
Go nuts.
So I could just pick any of them, right?
Viper.
3s.
You can choose Clea.
You know what?
Don't choose.
I think Clea is underrated because instead of being the second worst 3-pointer in the game, she's probably like the 5th. But that being said, she has uses.
Man, Muse was really hating on Quicksilver.
Are you trying to get me to pick Quicksilver? I've been looking at him for a minute.
I'm telling you right now, they think he's garbage, and I was like, "Oh man, you have you are sorely wrong."
I do think they've done my boy wrong, and I'm silently protesting that. But
silently, so very silently.
Currently haven't ranted about it, but anyway, we'll leave it alone. Honestly, I think I'm actually going to pass. And it's not because there's not more models I could name. It's because they're all kind of in the same tier, which is the next tier. And I think we're already starting to kind of dip into that. And so I think I'm just going to leave it alone. Because we don't want to name like all the models, right? Like we're trying to name the outliers.
Yep.
And I think we're even a couple models past, honestly. So I'm going to leave it alone.
Well, you guys all missed the model I said I wasn't going to talk about, so someone needs to talk about him.
It's too late.
Okay.
Thanos.
No, the 3-pointer.
3-point Thanos is best Thanos.
The 3-point anti-Thanos you should have in your roster right now.
You already said it. Groot.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I do it. I'm undefeated against Pyro with Thanos. Turns out that guy is just a human person. And you can just put his ass straight into the ground.
He's just a human person.
Just one human person, please.
I think Pyro. It's spoiler alert. This is Pyro. He let the out of the bag. I actually think the meta has a hard on for this guy because his power is just a little bit better than Groot's. Of course, it gives root and slow, which is like it should be 4. It should cost 4, right? It only costs 2. Firewall is the power I'm talking about for those of you not confident about his character. But I'm actually with Brandon. He evaporates in a puff of blood whenever you give him any sort of attention, and for that reason, I don't think he's
just say it.
I don't think he's I don't think he's the ubiquitous model that everybody wants to drop in every list because he's going to firewall once and then he's going to die. I don't think he actually gets to do firewall more than once or twice. And if that won you the game because you're playing something that one firewall won you the game on, cool. But I don't think that's ubiquity.
Well, if you're taking him specifically as a big model counter, I can tell you that forcing them to kill your 3-point model standing in the back first is a good thing. Now, true. I'm not saying, all I'm saying is it's not a hard counter. It's just help, right? It makes the matchup more bearable. I think it's fair to put him on this list as long as we talk about why he's on the list and not just say that it's Pyro in general, because it's not Pyro in general. Pyro in general is a B+ model. Pyro Firewall game plan against big models is an A- plan. And so, I think that's worth talking about. Mm-hmm. Mainly, though, I don't think people realize how good... The reason I said they did my boy wrong, go look at Pyrotechnics and then go back and look at Can I Borrow That? And we'll talk about why it's there. Yeah, I think Pyro is definitely in the top tier of 3-pointers.
In the current meta. Absolutely.
And people don't even talk about it anymore because the pay-to-flips are such a taboo topic because you're only allowed to play them as X-Men that people don't talk about how valuable a 4 energy defense 3-pointer is to have in your roster. It's so valuable.
I was going to talk about Marvel, but I didn't. Same reason, though.
I'm so glad you didn't name her. I hate that fucking model so much. I refuse to build her. I fucking hate Miss Marvel so much.
You know what? I will go ahead and I'll agree with you the top tier comment because there is one thing. Even when I'm not playing a big guy, this guy is a massive target on his face. The only difference is when you're not playing a big guy, you usually can afford to spend a little time on him because you don't need a lot of time. You just need a little time. But I made the mistake of one game going, he's just a 3-point character. He's got some dicey rolls, but and then he incinerated my whole list so fast, and I was like, okay, well, from now on, this guy must die. So it's interesting. He's one of those guys that has taunt, but he doesn't have taunt. So if you have a game plan in which if you need that, you need somebody who takes a lot of attention and is going to do something until he gets that attention. That's probably good. I'll agree. That's pretty cool.
And he's got an amazing tactics card. He's got an amazing superpower. Yeah. He's got above average attacks, very above average attacks. The fact that we're talking about he could, on the first turn, make an advance, shoot at somebody, and apply 3 negative conditions, all of which are actually penalizing, that is huge. So I think it's very good. Anyway, I've applied him to the list. And so, Parker, would you like to name anyone else before we close it out?
No, I pass.
Okay. All right. So, in finale, our total characters that we think are outliers and definitely worth at least looking at including in your rosters are Ant-Man, Baron Mordo, Ghost Spider, Hood, Baron Zemo, Black Cat, Scourge the Executioner, Iron Man, Groot, Supergiant, Shuri, Punisher, Lizard, Winter Soldier, Mystique, X-23, Red Guardian, Lockjaw, Nick Fury, and the Howling Commandos, and Pyro. So, as a little experiment here, I would like to sort these into tiers. Now, if you guys are also looking at the Word document, I'd like you to close it, or at least make it to where you can't see it currently. I'm going to sort these into tiers, and then I'm going to quiz you guys on where you guys where you guys think they should sit, and I'll reveal where I put them. Does that sound fun?
Sure.
Okay.
So basically,
You
you're
guys
going to
are
tell us how you're wrong, and we're going to tell you how you're right. Is the idea?
That's the opposite of what we were doing, but yes.
Okay.
Man, I'm having a bad typo day. You ever have those days where like you can't press a key without pressing the key next to it? And it's just like, God damn it.
Hot
Let me
dog
write the
vendors.
fucking thing down. Yeah, it's just like a bad day. It's like you're just out of sync.
I call those no luck days. When I'm just like
No luck days.
like generally I recognize when I get lucky, like when I get a number of, green lights, or I drop something and it's, butter side up, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
whenever I have days where it's just over and over and over, it doesn't work out for me like that, I recognize that too.
This is the karma.
Yeah, I go, this is the no luck day. I'm getting it all back.
Sorry for all the clicky noises. I'm sure fucking Nigel's having a stroke.
I bet Nigel loves it. Don't presume.
Nigel, just imagine that they're all custom dice rolling around a dice tray. He'll be okay.
Yeah.
Well, you only feel fine about that if it's a Muse dice tray and the Muse custom dice. So
Ooh, are they coming out next week? They're custom dice from
I
you?
thought they were already out. I have a set.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, Nigel, I need my custom set of MCP dice. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you, for people at home, the Show Me Showdown is next month on July 14th through 16th. Muse on Minis is supplying our grab bags. There's a fun mystery gift inside the grab bags, so I'm just going to leave it out there. If you guys are interested in some new Muse product that has not yet been shown to the public, you could go to the Show Me Showdown.
Tight.
If it's a Muse prophylactic, I will not be disappointed.
Oh my god.
Okay. I split them into 3 categories. We have best, middle tier, and low tier. We call it 1, 2, 3 if you want.
Of
they're
the
all
top
obviously
ones. Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Of the top.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the models that we all chose to stick their outliers within the game.
Okay.
Okay.
Are they symmetrical in their assignment?
No. There is a bell curve. So
okay.
there is a small group at the top, there's a small group at the bottom, and then there's the meat in the middle.
I wonder where X-23 is.
All right. So we're just going to... obviously, X-23 is at the top of the list. She's number 1. All right. Now, let me quiz. Let's see. Why don't you guys ask... because I don't want to be biased here. I want the way I order them. So, Parker, pick one of the models that we named today.
I can't look at the list, right?
You can't look at the list.
Okay.
Just pick one of the ones you named.
Okay, cool. Lockjaw.
Where do you think I rated him?
Top tier. I think you put him on the top level.
Okay.
That's where
Anybody
I
else
think
have
you
a
did.
vote?
Yeah, I think he's bottom tier.
Bottom?
Absolutely.
You think he's bottom. But,
Absolutely.
Jeremy?
But Brandon asked, where does he think...
Are you saying that's where you think I rated him, or that's where you think he should be rated?
They're one and the same.
Okay.
Okay.
So Aaron's saying that I think Lockjaw is trash and that he agrees.
Not trash.
I think
Well, hold on.
Lockjaw's in the
We're
middle.
already
God
I
almighty.
know. I think people understand that these are clearly outlier models. So it's clearly not actual trash.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Middle.
Middle. Okay, so we have an even spread. Aaron was right.
Of course
He
I
is bottom tier.
Yes.
How about this then? Can you guys guess the other 3 models that I put in bottom tier?
I know one of them. I'm not sure of the other 2.
Okay. Can we get some guesses?
I'll tell you the one that I'm sure of, and as soon as we get guesses from Jeremy and
All right. Parker, can I get a guess?
Mystique.
Okay. Jeremy, I need a guess.
Without the list, I don't know what's going on.
Okay. So of the models we picked, which 3 models that we haven't named are like in the lowest category of the ones we named?
I understand the question.
Okay. You just can't remember the models.
Yes.
All right, that's fair.
Why
It's
don't
basically
you
just
ask-
all of the
Why don't
models
you
you
ask the
named.
question
So
one more time? Jesus Christ.
I forgot,
Parker,
Jeremy
could
had
you ask it
Alzheimer's.
differently?
I didn't mean to point out your Alzheimer's on the podcast.
Can you Parker explain that real quick?
Let me say exactly the same thing, but also mention that Brandon's
All right,
Brandon's
Parker.
version is wrong somehow.
Parker, despite me completely agreeing with him, he's obviously wrong.
Yeah, obviously.
So Parker, your Mystique guess is wrong. I did
Oh.
not put her in bottom tier.
Okay.
So Aaron, what's your obvious pick?
It's Supergiant.
Ooh, good call. I didn't think you were going to get that one.
What?
She is conveniently sitting right next to your Groot pick.
Ooh. Now offense has been taken.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
I also have Scourge the Executioner.
I can buy all 4 of those, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they're all great, obvious outliers, but they're not exceptional. They're just outliers. Supergiant has a great, unique effect and generates a lot of power, but she's not going to make the game about her. Same thing with with Scourge and Groot. They're both outlier models that have an exceptional thing about them, but they're not going to take over a game on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Lockjaw has that potential, but I don't think currently the game has the availability for him to do that because the models don't exist that he's designed to fix. So we've already spoiled X-23. There are 2 other models on the high end. Do you guys want to guess who is sharing the spotlight with X-23?
Shuri.
No way.
No way.
No way.
It's not Shuri.
Trying to think
Winter
of
Soldier.
who else.
Is Winter Soldier up there?
Ooh.
Spider-Gwen.
Aaron?
I'm going to have
Black
to
Cat.
agree with Parker on this one. I think Winter Soldier is one of them.
It's not Winter Soldier. Jeremy was right. It is Gwen. There's one more.
I mean, if we're talking current meta, it has to be Pyro. If we're talking
Parker?
in general, it's Lizard.
It's not Lizard.
It
Hard
should
to
be.
see.
I love this
Should
is what
be.
I love about this is because one person's like, I'm 100% sure it's this, and everyone else in the podcast is like, are you fucking insane? It's so great. It's so great because this is where we get to we all disagree.
Do we
but
even
we
play
all
the same
agreed
fucking
about
game?
we all agreed about the list,
Uh-huh.
but we disagree about how they rank within it.
No. We did not in any way, shape, or form agree about the list. What the hell are you smoking?
The list of models.
There was
we
no
all-
agreement. We all
we
picked
had-
fucking random people.
No, but while we were talking about it, we all agreed that there was only a couple of times that we contradict each other on a pick.
Okay.
Most of the time we were talking about, yes, this is a good thing for these reasons.
I
I
will
don't
be
think I
more
disagree.
vocal in the future.
About disagreeing.
Oh wow, I didn't know you felt that way. Okay.
Not hard disagreement, but I would have pushed back hard against Supergiant as inclusion in an outlier model.
Yeah, obviously not nearly as good as Groot as a solo model.
You're right.
Go fuck
Groot
off.
is- yeah, you're right. Groot has so much more utility.
Let's check
This
the
is
board.
great.
Show
This
me
is great.
Supergiant.
And obviously, this list is my opinion, and so the fact that you guys are disagreeing with it, which is awesome.
I guess that. Yeah, we are wrong.
All right, so
I would say I will fight my Groot against your Supergiant tomorrow. That would actually
that's
go
not
really
gonna go
poorly
well.
for me.
That's
Well, actually, Groot will factually never lose, but also Supergiant will probably factually never lose. It's gonna be a long fight. Oh man! All right, so the final model in the top 3 that I had was Black Cat.
Mm.
So my top models were X-23, Gwen, and Black Cat, and I think I don't think there's a strong argument against it, but obviously you guys might disagree in the exact rankings and put somebody else above them.
I'm not gonna specifically. Anyway, I think Gwen. I think she's worse now than she used to be, given the meta environment. She's just too squishy. She's always been squishy, but there's so much stuff that can reach out. The fact that she doesn't have stealth, usually on a team with a lot of stealth, makes her a target. She's good at what she does. I just think the game has evolved and she hasn't. She's still absolutely worth taking, but probably not top 3 threes in my opinion.
Well, I think she, as a 3-pointer, is an outlier that is unparalleled for that reason. What she does is truly unique, and there's not other models that you can easily replace her effects. The amount of board control she can bring, the action economy, combined with the lifesaver, is just on a tier of its own when it comes to a support 3-pointer, or board control support. Lizard is obviously a better brick of stats and a better tank and a better centerline model. There's no question, if you wanted her to play that role, you're going to fail. And so Lizard is clearly amazing, but I don't think he's truly unique because there's other models that have similar amounts of survivability. Luke Cage can almost equally drop in pretty much any list. You're just trading healing factor for taunt, which in some lists is better.
No, you're trading mobility.
A little bit
That's
of
really what
mobility.
makes Lizard so good. The medium
Why
base,
is
medium
he-
move.
So because he moves a quarter inch further every time he moves, it's noticeable mobility difference? Or
Uh,
just because he can get to like the B's and F's?
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's really the first turn. Not I don't know if play is the right word. Threat option that he gives you.
Say,
plus
because if
the-
it's mobility, it's like Beast has infinitely more mobility than Lizard, but
No,
obviously he
and-
doesn't have the survivability to back it up.
and the displacement. Like the displacement is. Anyway, we don't need to argue Lizard versus Cage. They're both very good, but
yeah, I think this is a great list. I wonder if I'll probably just put the whole list in the show notes, honestly. If I remember to, at least.
So
I think I've said a lot of times I'll put something in the show notes and didn't.
So essentially, all the ones we talked about, grab a fistful of those, throw in Emma Frost, have a blast.
I don't know. I haven't played. I haven't put a lot of thought into Hellfire. Do you think they play a lot of threes, or I've seen a lot of more elite models with them?
Oh, I have no idea. It's just
Yeah.
any sort of tier list. I think would work with Emma Frost.
depends on how you want to play her. But yes,
We should do a list of models you should never include sometime.
that list
That'd
is
be good.
surprisingly low.
It is a small
That is
list.
a short list, yeah.
When I originally copy and pasted the 56 or whatever 3-pointers into the list, I was like, oh, I'll just prune this down and get rid of all the obvious not includes. And I was going through the list, I was like, wow, there's only like 3 of them. It's not even worth my time.
I don't think have any threes on my do not play ever again list that I've been keeping track of as I play all the models in Marvel throughout the year.
I mean, mine is fairly short too. It's basically Viper and Miss Marvel.
Yeah. One of those is objectively wrong, and you understand that.
Well, I refuse to play Miss Marvel for a reason that's not game mechanics.
I know.
I do think she's super overtuned. Like, she is so crazy in like the amount of ability she has. I mean, that's been less surprising as of late, but when she came out, it was still fairly new that like a 3-pointer had that many abilities.
Yep.
All right. Parker, did you have a comic corner?
Oh yeah, man. Do I have a comic corner? And it's super appropriate considering while we're recording this podcast, today Secret Invasion came out, the new MCU television show featuring Nick Fury as the central character. And so I'm actually going to talk about, and I don't know how, I've never talked about this before, Secret Invasion, the Marvel event in the comics, because it was incredible. Written by one of my favorite creators, Brian Bendis, responsible for a lot of my favorite issues. Like Brian Bendis never sticks with one title for very long. But he likes to start like really indelible stuff, like Ultimate Spider-Man, and then Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man. He's also responsible for a lot of the current Star-Lord, like the way we see him in the MCU. He was responsible for that. And he also wrote House of M, one of the biggest Marvel events ever, one of those well-written ones. He's just, whatever he touches turns to awesome. The penciler was Lionel Francis Yu, who does a really awesome, hyper-realistic, but he loves the like gothic shadow and lines. He draws kind of like you'd expect in a Batman comic, actually, but it's got Marvel color above those shadowy lines, but he just likes deep shadow, like below faces and around corners. He likes a lot of black on the page, which just looks super cool, especially in a story like Secret Invasion. I do not know anything about the Secret Invasion television show, and I can tell you right now that what the MCU has set up for the Skrulls being on Earth is nothing like the setup for the comics universe. In the comics universe, Secret Invasion actually starts with a story about the Illuminati, which is alluded to in the alternate universe we see in one of the Doctor Strange movies, Multiverse of Madness. But in the primary Marvel universe, the Illuminati exists, similar characters, Black Bolt, Doctor Strange, Professor Xavier, and Mr. Fantastic, and they are all responding to the very first Skrull invasion. So this is back in the 60s, right? And after the very first Skrull invasion, they're like, crap, there are these aliens out there that can look like anybody. We've got to go on the offensive. And so they, without telling anyone, launched a terrible attack on the Skrull homeworld and wrecked a bunch of stuff. Like basically they did a terrorist attack. And they thought it was completely responsible considering what the Skrull had done to their own planet. It was retaliatory in their eyes. But without them knowing this, the Skrull captured them did a huge amount of testing on them in which they eventually escaped. And the Skrulls tricked them into thinking they escaped in like minutes and hours, but they actually were using like mind wipe technology basically to keep their memories short, and they'd actually been captured for a lot longer. And so the Skrulls had accumulated a huge amount of information about them. And so, without any body in the Marvel Universe knowing, for years, the Skrulls have been seeding Earth with spies who are really Skrulls, and they're incredibly, incredibly sophisticated copies of people down to a level that can't be detected by any of the things the Skrulls were able to use, because the Illuminati, like one's the master magician, one's a master mutant, one's a master super. They all have different incredible genetic potentials, and so they use that against humans and basically make them immune to all the devices we could possibly use to figure out who they are and which one is which. The Secret Invasion miniseries itself actually starts moment one with they find the very first Skrull spy because someone accidentally kills Elektra. And they kind of expect her to come back to life like she always does, because that's one of the things about Elektra. She comes back to life because the hand has resurrection magic. But when she dies, she turns into a Skrull instantly, and everybody freaks out. And the story launches off from there. One of the coolest things Brian Bendis does with this story is he does something really interesting with the common hero on hero trope. Like heroes versus heroes is a common thing that happens, because it cuts the monotony of hero versus villains. But what he does that's really interesting is he plays with this idea of trust. And these heroes who have built up these long relationships over time have this huge amount of trust. But whenever you literally can't tell who is who, and there's no way to know if there's an imposter or not, what can you believe? Um, the Skrulls have been masterminding all these things, like presumably resurrections and presumably abductions and presumably impersonations. And one of the things the Skrulls do on purpose is they are constantly feeding all the heroes misinformation about who's a Skrull. And so there's this, as a reader, you're trying to figure it out. As the heroes, they're trying to figure it out, and you get this intense feeling of anxiety that you don't get in any of the other crisis the events that Marvel superheroes tend to deal with. They're always pretty, big bad guy into the world, go fight them. It's going to be tough, but they win because they're Avengers, go avenging. But this one is more about who do you trust. And it's not like the Civil War event where it is still sides, who's on which side, but this one you don't know who's on any side. It's an incredibly sophisticated and interesting story, and it also ends with a very interesting thing because, of course, a lot of villains are also in on it because uh, they don't like the fact there's an alien invasion, right? And so they're also trying to help. And so there's the conclusion actually includes a villain, which is really interesting. Another thing Brian Bendis did to kind of turn everything on its head. So if this sounds like a really amazing Marvel event, it's one of the best ones ever. I'm excited that they're turning into a show. I don't know if they're going to include some of the stuff they did in the comic or not, but they don't have to. It's just a really interesting story. Funny side note: after I just reread Secret Invasion miniseries, coming up to this show, and I wanted to read it again because it's a beautiful art, and Brian Bendis is one of my favorites. I was not disappointed when I read it a second time, so I read it a third time immediately afterwards. In like 2 days, I read it twice. One of the things that happens in this is Nick Fury, who in the Marvel Universe at this time was in hiding because he overstepped his bounds as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and so he was indicted, and so he runs instead of facing the music. And he assembles a crack team of purposely non-outed super characters because he knows that they're not Skrulls. And so he calls them the Secret Warriors. And they then, after the Secret Invasion, have a mini series afterwards. I do not know if this is going to happen in the comic series we're about to watch. It seems like it might happen. Might rife for that. But I haven't read any of the Secret Warriors. I know nothing about them, but they look super cool, and so I'm excited to read that. Maybe I'll report on that after this Secret Invasion series is over, so we don't make any spoilers for anybody who's excited about the show. But if you want to see Secret Invasion, the book series, the mini series is amazing. Brian Bendis is a master. Do it.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. Hope you guys had a good time. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy.
And Aaron.
And you've just listened to The Cable of Three Pointers.
So what are we gonna call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just gonna put down infamous.
And we did it.
Yay!
My mic sounds fuzzy.
I think it sounds perfect. Fuzzy.
It looks fuzzy. I don't know. Hopefully it's fine.
I like you better muffled.
Me too.
Oh, muzzled. Sorry, I meant muzzled.
Muzzled,
Oh boy.
knee to the back of the neck, that sort of deal. Yeah.
So Parker, how far are you into Diablo?
Have not yet started.
I thought you had it installed last time we talked.
I did.
Aren't you on summer break? You don't even have a job right now.
I don't.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So last time you're like, my favorite part of Diablo is logging in after everyone else is already high level, getting power leveled, and then going straight to endgame content.
Yep.
So why were you nervous about story spoilers?
Oh, I really love Blizzard cinematics. Like
Okay.
I love Blizzard cinematics. Since like the original WoW cinematic, the original one, or actually hell, the original Warcraft 3 cinematic, that one at the very beginning. I'm like, nah, I have to know what happens when it happens in the cinematic. And Diablo is all about their awesome cinematics. The story, actually, Diablo 2 story was ass, but the cinematics were righteous, and I like to see them for the first time. I don't like to get them spoiled. That's actually the only thing I don't want spoiled is the cinematics.
Well, I was not impressed by any of the cinematics, so
Okay.
I was very impressed with some of the Diablo 3 cinematics. I was not impressed with any of the Diablo 4s.
Okay.
That's probably, in my opinion, the weakest part of the entire game, honestly.
Brandon is speaking out of his ass right now, Parker.
Actually not. That's my actual opinion.
Sure,
right.
okay.
I actually encountered something. So Father's Day was this past weekend, and tradition in my house is that Father's Day is Daddy's Day, which means you can be a daddy as much or as little as you want. So I generally choose to spend almost the entire day in my basement, playing games, reading comic books, and I come up, for the fun stuff like dinner and hang out with the kids a little bit in the evening. That's about it. And so I had every intention of playing Diablo, but I came downstairs on that day and I was like, I really want to play Destiny 2, this other game. And I was like, I've been behind. I haven't done anything this season. The season looks really fun and I want to see what it's all about. And I played it all day and I loved it. And for about 2 minutes, I felt like this intense, guilt that I didn't play Diablo. And then I stopped for a second and wait a minute, why am I feeling any sort of guilt? It's not like it goes away if I don't use it today.
Yeah.
Why am I feeling like that? I can easily play it. Like you guys said, I have a summer. I am not strapped to, some other responsibility every single minute. I can go play it. If I wanted to spend my day playing this other game, I shouldn't feel bad. And then I didn't lose any sleep over it. I felt good about my decision because I had a great day.
Good.
But no, I have not started Diablo yet. Not because I'm not excited about it, but because there's been other things that I've just been calling my name, and I'm like, let's find out what that is. And I haven't regretted it yet. I think I'm really going to like Diablo when I get around to it, though.
Cool.
I did manage to watch Quantum Mania, though. I got around to finally watching Quantum Mania on Disney Plus. And
Did you like it?
I now know why all the memes about MODOK. I now get it.
It's very weird.
It wasn't just that it was a weird visual choice, because it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was also a very weird story choice. It does something that we've talked about a lot on here, that really I don't like it when I get pulled out of stories and pulled out of the moment. And it pulled me out of the moment several times. Not every time, because sometimes his character was super consistent, but especially when Cassie challenges his ethos at the end, calls him an ass or something, and he's like, I'm an ass, and then that's it, that's all it takes, and then that whole dying scene where he's dying I'm an Avenger,
that was the best part.
Yeah, and it's at the same time I was like, this is really weird tone, and they even Scott remarks on it in the moment, he says that was an odd thing, and I expected him to cough again and not be dead, right? Like that's what I expected. Like it's a joke because he thinks he's dying, but he's not. He'll be okay. He'll just really got the shit beat out of him, but he's okay. But no, he's actually dead. It was supposed to be that serious. Like a main character has died in front of all of them, and none of them seem to have any gravitas about it because it's all undermined by this weird joke. It was a really weird choice. Lots of things about his character were strange choices, but now I know why all the memes, because it's like that was odd. Kang was great. Like Kang was great. I loved Kang.
I think it did a good job of portraying him.
Yeah. It's so much of a relief after that Kang we got in Loki, because the Kang in Loki, I was like, what is this guy? He is not Kang, but the Kang in that movie was exactly Kang. Very two-faced, always like presenting one thing but really wanting another, and his whole goal is to be in charge. He thinks he's right no matter what. The end always justifies the mean, period, full stop. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, and he is confident he has the answer, him and only him. Like that super insane ego, absolutely insane ego. Like they did a great job of making that really great and consistent. I also like that they decided to make Janet Van Dyne like part of that plot. Like I like how they put her into the plot and made her important to it, not just she gets pulled into because she's star power or she's already been introduced in the plot once. I fucking loved it when the ants showed up. I got the same feeling when the ants showed up. Like it was a Riders of Rohan kind of moment. You're just like, fuck yes, giant fucking ants. And when they beat up Kang, no one else can, and just a bunch of fucking ants beat up Kang. I said out loud while I was watching, I was like, yeah, I guess a bunch of fucking ants. What do you do? Like I don't care.
Giant horse-sized ants.
Yeah, with like
technology.
You're like, shit, I think you're just fucking done. Like I don't think you win that fight, right?
Yeah.
You just lose. What are you gonna do? Kill a bunch of ants? But there's still thousands of ants. Like you've lost that fight. I actually love that part. I love that the solution, they just had a big smoking gun. I like it that they can leave it in the microverse. It's not like the Golden Eagles from Lord of the Rings where you ask yourself, why aren't they just using the ants every time? So I like that they left them in the microverse, made sure that was like not something we'll see again. But I thought it was perfect. It was great. Yeah, there were also the Giant Man stuff was good. I thought the Cassie stuff was strong. True to the canon too, like their relationship was spot on. The only thing that I feel like I needed to watch all three movies in a row to feel like it made sense is there was almost zero chemistry and zero romance between Ant-Man and Wasp the entire movie. They spent a huge chunk of the runtime completely separated, and it really focused on Cassie and him, which was great. Like it was the point of the movie, right? Obviously Cassie was the main point. But at the end, Wasp comes back through the portal and saves him, and they have like a kissing moment. And I'm like, this seems a little odd. Like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, it should have been Cassie, like, right? Because isn't Cassie the person who we saw the arc this whole movie with Scott? Why is okay? I guess sure. And that was the only one. That was the only writer's point that I had on it. I was like, I feel like this was unearned and not useful to the plot. But sure, whatever. I guess doesn't hurt anything. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But
so what a lot of people are saying is that they're annoyed that version of Kang is gone. It's going to be a different Kang being the main antagonist. But I assume that Kang's coming back at some point.
Scott makes it really clear in that wonderful moment at the end where he's like sunshine lollipops and he goes, oh no. Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't actually see him die. He didn't actually die. He just went somewhere else. Is this terrible? Did I just ruin everything?
Well, he's also like, hey, wait a second. Like, didn't he say this big impending thing was coming that only he could stop? And you're like, right. No, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, he strolls on.
So, like, yeah. He just keeps sneaking into his head.
Yeah.
Wait, wasn't like he supposed to stop something for us? Like,
yeah, there was, that whole sequence was good. But no, we didn't see him die. And of course, because there's a multiverse of Kangs, right? There's another one that could be similar to him.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be like the conqueror.
Right. He was the scary one the other ones didn't like because he was he was willing to do too much. He was too efficient, too effective. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is, like I said, I had a few notes, but I enjoyed it overall.
I didn't find out till later that the three Kangs you see at the end are like actual characters and not just
Oh.
random bullshit.
No,
like,
no.
that was like,
Those were all nods to Immortus, Rama Tut, and I can't. Like there's a future Kang. I can't remember. I think he's still called Kang, but yeah, Immortus and Rama Tut and all that stuff. Yeah. Pretty much any time the Marvel Universe wanted to do a time traveling gimmick, they would just put Kang in that time period and have the Fantastic Four or the Avengers fight him. Like it's a very he's a very, 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 very common recurring character, and he often is involved with any sort of time traveling shenaniganry.
I like the Man Out of Time Kang, where he's like in olden days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's also a completely current time Kang. Like there's a bunch of like precedent for, because he was born 1,000 years. He was born like the year 3000 ish, somewhere in there, and but there's also like this one of the Avengers subplots, as a punishment or like an attempt to thwart him and disable him, they separate his psyche basically into 3 different personalities and then scatters them across time, and one of them's like a present day bad guy. He knows he's Kang, but he knows he's also not like all of himself, and he can't get out of the present day, and so he fights the Avengers a bunch. There's a bunch, like I said, like pretty much anything you want to write Kang into, you can just make him. He's very much a MacGuffin for a bad guy.
That was one of the more interesting stories in my supervillains book, was about Kang and how he actually succeeds. He conquers Earth in present day by he sets off a nuke in New York City to kill all the superheroes, because oddly they all congregate in New York City. It's weird.
Yeah.
And so he just nukes New York with 0 warning and just kills almost all of them, and then the rest of them aren't strong enough to stop him, so he takes over the planet and then realizes that like he doesn't, after like 5 years of being in charge, he's like, this is not what I wanted. Everyone resists me all the time. He's like, I got this fucking army of green robot men coming out of Western or Eastern Europe. They just fuck with me constantly. It's like, I got this army of aqua people coming out of the oceans fighting me. I got fucking Galactus keeps showing up and being an asshole. Like, he just is pissed. He's like, why won't people just let me be in charge? And eventually he goes back in time to stop himself from nuking New York.
Yeah. Because he realizes the superheroes are constantly under a huge amount of stress.
He's like, this just isn't fucking worth it. And like the only real supergroup that's still intact is the Inhumans, because they just don't pay attention to anything.
Right.
And so they just like didn't even know that like he had taken over the planet. And it's like they show up to help stop Galactus. He's like, good, we can work together. And then they just leave. And he's like, where are you going? I need you.
Yeah, that's there's been a couple stories like that of just like thinking about how much superheroes do all the time, or how much they must do. One of my favorite non-Marvel comics is it Metro City? Oh, man, it makes me so mad. But that I know that's
Metrocity.
No, I know that's Metrocity. I think I'm getting it conflated rather. What is the name of this comic? Oh, it's gonna make me so mad. It's a super well-known, like all on its own, like mini series that Image Comics produced. It got huge amounts of awards because of. And this is
it's not Invincible.
Astro City. Oh my gosh, I'm so mad at myself. Okay, Astro City. So this Astro City, it's its own like superhero universe they created just because these writers wanted to tell vignette stories about like what superhero would actually be like in a more like appropriate world, a more realistic place. And the very first story is really provocative. No spoilers here. It's just about their version of Superman, and it starts with him dreaming of flying, and all of a sudden an alarm goes off and he wakes up, and he has this super like alien, this super powered alien tech that warns him of danger across the planet. And so he sighs, he gets up and he starts flying, right? And so the whole story is about how he manages having an alter ego and saving the planet, all the time. And it's just a day in the life of this guy, as a vignette. And at the end of the thing, he sits down in his bed and he looks at the super watch and it says 43 seconds. And he goes, wow, 43 seconds of flying time. I think that's the first time in like 6 months I've had that much. And he lays down because he flies so quickly and he's flying so much to avert all these disasters that he actually only flies for less than a minute a day. But he's all over the planet constantly saving things. and then he falls asleep and dreams of flying again. Because all he wants, if a person had superpowers, you'd want to use them, right? You dream of having the fantasy of superpowers. But as it turns out, you just become so insanely busy, you can't possibly ever use it for recreation. You just have to use it to fly as fast as you can from crisis to crisis. It's a cool story, depressingly cool story.
Cool.
I went and saw The Flash.
Oh,
really?
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been canceled yet?
That's really strange that the movie even exists.
I know, right? I think they waited a while to release it, hoping it would all blow over.
Yeah, so, like, let's just imagine and put all that stuff aside.
Imagine the actor isn't completely psychotic.
Yeah, like,
and move on.
Yeah. So, I tell you, watching Michael Keaton and all that stuff and seeing Zod and seeing all the things you saw, dude, it's pretty fucking cool. Like, that movie is really cool.
No, it looks like the best DC movie they've maybe ever made.
Yeah.
On the previews and from what I understand of the plot. I'm like, man, it sure sucks it's got this dark cloud over it now.
Yeah.
Like, they actually worked as hard as they could to pull themselves out of the sewage, and then they got fucked for no reason.
Yeah, it has a good storyline. Like, it has actual, like...
They almost had me at Michael Keaton. Like,
I tell
honestly,
you, the Michael Keaton stuff
dude.
is fucking badass. And they actually use, like, the orchestra music from Batman 1 and 2 from the Tim Burton stuff and Tim Burton vehicles. And, like, dude, it has all the feels.
I'll
Like,
probably see it at some point.
Yeah, it's cool. And then Zod, that character that played Zod most recently, that whole thing is just, like, it feels so good.
I will find him. That's what I can't.
Did you hear the interview they had with the actor that plays Zod? So they asked him, was like, so what did you think when they called you up to do the movie? And he's like, I don't understand. Like, my agent calls me. He's like, yeah, they want you to be Zod again. He's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, like, they want you to renew your contract. He's like, my character died. He's like, no, it's like a Flashpoint thing. And he's like, they broke my neck. It's like, no, like, yeah, your character died, but, like, they want you to play Zod again. It's like, is it a prequel? He's like, no, it happens later in the storyline. He's like, I don't understand. Is it a flashback? No, it's like a flashpoint. And he didn't get it. Like, he just straight didn't get it. He had to explain it to him for, like, 10 minutes. He's like, it's like a multiverse kind of thing. He's like, I'm going to play a different character. He's like, no, it's the same character. Like, he just would not understand. Yeah. He's like, my agent was furious at one point. I was just like, all right, just how much? Like, he's like, I don't care. Just tell me how much money. I'll fucking go do it. Like,
Supergirl, the character they got playing Supergirl is pretty cool. Like, it was very unexpected how much I enjoyed it. It was cool.
I don't understand why they don't, because, I mean, they've had a crossover of a couple characters, but why don't they just get the CW actors that are already reprising these roles, like, to do the movies?
I don't know.
Do they not think they can do it? Because if they had just chosen the guy who plays Flash on the TV show, they wouldn't have had this problem. Because, he's not psychotic.
Do they own? Is this a question of ownership? Like, is there
Well, but that's the thing. Like, you fucking call the CW. You're like, guys, we're both going to make a lot of money. Like, that's exactly what Marvel did.
What
let's figure this out.
What is the CW's ownership? I don't know. I don't know who owns the CW. I suppose.
Well, they're making a Flash movie, so clearly it's not an exclusive rights to the character.
Right to the character. Yeah, but is it an actor somehow? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of.
Surely there's CW actors that have appeared in Marvel movies or DC movies.
I am not. I'm trying the same as you, trying to figure out what in the hell could have stopped them from doing that. I don't know.
It's when there's a will, there's a way. Like, all you gotta do is get the people that make the decisions in a room and get them to agree. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
There's no way the CW is like, no, we're gonna be total dicks about this. That way we lose any future contracts we might ever want with the DC universe. It's like, come on, guys, grow up.
They've just
I don't know why they don't. Maybe they're like, well, they're not good. They're good enough to be on a TV show, but they're not good enough to be in the movie. Like, we got Ben Affleck as opposed to, like, some no-name TV actor. Like, maybe they feel that way, but I don't know.
Dude, they play on that whole multiple Batman thing. Like, they have so many clever things that happen. No, but I was going to say, it's interesting that the whole DC universe, like, it reminds me of, like, sparks in a fire where they're like, every once in a while you get a glimmer of a flame and you're like, okay, they figured it out. And then it just immediately goes out. Like, they just have one glimmer and they're like, fucking no, it's terrible still.
Oh, that's what it felt like?
No, that one felt like it's great, and you're like, okay, they
Oh.
have it under control.
And like
And the
they
next
got
one-
some traction, and then they just trip and fall down. You're
Yeah.
like, God damn it! Come on, guys. We had 3 solid seconds of goodness.
I mean,
Well,
look at they keep coming out with different products too. Like
Morbius
detective-
2.
this
Like,
this
fuck me.
detective Batman thing they made. Like that's an additional series of Batmans that feels entirely different than any of the others. And this one was just incredibly long and dark. Like I don't know. It just doesn't know who it wants to be or like what it's supposed to be, and like
They're all over the place. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
They got multiple movies coming out with the same character that aren't related. Like they're all different like instances of the story. It's weird. You think they just get their shit together eventually?
I don't know.
Like everything has to be a reboot. They can't just build on the same story and make it better.
I mean, Marvel's doing the same thing too, but for some reason, like the Spider-Man universe currently is fucking amazing. Like they figured that shit out. Like the new Spider-Man movies, phenomenal. The new Spider-Man animated shit, phenomenal. Like, okay, they got it. All this Batman stuff they keep putting out, holy fucking shit. Like, where are they going? Like, I don't.
I think it has something to do with like, if my guess is probably the same thing as all things like that. It probably comes down to money. Just like when you see, like, I think the MCU prints money, or rather the studios think they do, and they do to a certain degree. And so somebody goes, well, it will cost an insane amount of money to get all of these A-list actors, into this at the same time. And the production would be made much more difficult to make all these things always aligned with the same human beings. So that is going to take a ridiculous amount of clout and money and favor. Do you have that company making DC movies? They go, nah. And they go, okay, well, you're going to have to make a Batman movie the way you can, which is going to be Robert Pattinson and some other version of it, because you can't get all the other Batmans to do it because you're not Disney. You're not this megalith that can swing that kind of weight around. My guess. That's my guess.
I mean, they don't have Disney money, but who does?
Exactly.
I mean, but they're pretty fucking close, though. I mean, they were able to.
It's easy to get investors for blockbuster movies nowadays.
Yeah, I think it's just the quality of writers and stuff. Like they're just not. They're on the edge of it, and they just haven't figured it out exactly. I don't know.
We just talked about this with Guardians of the Galaxy, that it obviously often comes down to, did you get the right person behind the camera, behind the script, behind the did you get those people correct? If you did, you probably are going to have a movie. It doesn't really matter what kind of person is in front of the camera to a certain degree.
Like Shazam, like the original Shazam movie that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Like it was great. It had a great like tone. It was funny. And like the whole movie, I was like excited about it. Cool. That was like, okay, they've got their shit together. They figured it out. The rest, everything else, that whole thing is just fucking crazy and stupid. Like, it's like, what the fuck, guys? Like, it's just a mess. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, the new Flash movie is definitely worth a see. If you're into action movies and all that stuff, like, and you want to get the feels, man, if you watch the first 2 Batmans and you like the Tim Burton stuff, dude, it's so worth it. That whole stuff with the new Batman, it's cool.
Is there anybody else who has obvious overlap between DC and Marvel at the same time, other than Keaton? Because he's currently playing Vulture for MCU, and he just played Batman for DC.
DC and MCU.
I'm sure there is. There's
got to be somebody.
There's probably 10 of them.
Well, I'm probably lesser known people, but he's like star in both.
Yeah, I'm surprised Ben Affleck isn't on that list.
I mean, yeah, he's not active on MCU because he did play Daredevil, but
yeah, it's not canon.
That doesn't.
I mean, it's a Marvel movie.
It's true.
I mean, obviously, it's a Fox movie, but
fact.
Did anybody see the Craven movie?
That's not out yet, is it?
Out already?
Yeah, Craven movie trailer is out yesterday.
Oh no, I don't watch trailers.
I know you don't watch trailers, but did you know that it's announced?
I know that. I heard the announcement.
Yeah,
I watched half of the trailer. I actually stopped watching it. The trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I got bored and turned it off. That's probably the second time in history that I've got bored watching a trailer and turned it off. Probably the first time in history I got bored watching a trailer and turned it off based on a comic book I actually liked.
I don't think I talked about this last week. I think I watched it after the fact. I think I talked about it in Discord, but I didn't talk about it on the podcast. I saw the remake of The Thing that's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Thumbs up. That was good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is a good movie.
Is it a movie? It's a movie.
It's a movie.
Uh-huh.
The Thing
Okay.
with Kurt Russell from back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a remake, and without giving any spoilers, that's all I'm going to say.
Is it? I thought it was a prequel.
No.
It is a prequel.
It is a prequel.
Oh, it is? I thought it was.
It
I
is
thought
a
it was just
prequel.
I thought it was just a remake.
It
I never
is
saw
a
the
prequel.
original. I just saw this.
So that was the attempt to not give out spoilers, but now that we're giving out spoilers, so the end of the movie,
we
you
know
find
it's a
out
prequel because that's what it is.
we find out that they were this movie follows the previous camp The Thing was at, and so the end of this movie ends with them chasing the dog in the helicopter, and then the original takes over from there.
Okay, got it. Yeah, all I knew is that one was a prequel, and I hadn't watched it yet.
Have you started watching Zombie yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Is it just called?
I'll start watching Zombie when you start watching Battlestar.
Look, I watch Battlestar for all of us.
Why do you have to hold things ransom?
I already did
like
it.
Things?
I took care of that.
Because
Guys.
Aaron's holding it ransom.
I
He
took
started
care of
it.
it.
This is just taking it back.
You told what?
And then I
Taking
watched
what
the
back?
Pitch Black movie, and I got to see what's her face's titties.
That's true.
Pitch Black movie.
We watched Riddick.
Uh-huh. Wait, Riddick or
Riddick.
Pitch Black?
Has one of
Riddick.
the main
Pitch Black
characters
2.
Yeah,
on
Pitch Black 2.
Battlestar.
The reblackening, yeah.
Yeah.
Reblackening. Starbucks titties.
Hmm.
What a
Just a
wonderful
very
name
weird
for,
laugh.
What a wonderful name for a person.
Yeah,
I'm Starbucks.
It's just
Starbucks
made for
titties.
TV. It was like, this is made for TV, and then all of a sudden we're like, we're getting ready to see Starbucks titties. I was like, what? I was like, this feels dirty. And it was the most gratuitous thing too. It was like, why on earth do we have to see?
It was definitely that horror movie. There's got to be a nude scene, like to keep your attention.
Yeah, it was
there's
completely
always-
like there was no reason.
It is funny that partial nudity is a thing. Did you ever see that meme? I showed my AI. This was way back when it wasn't like sophisticated AI. Back when like bots were funny. So I showed my bot 1,000 horror movies and then had it write a script. And the first line is, "Old man is cutting hedges in front of lawn. Teenagers pull up in car and sex." It's like, and you're just like, "Yep, that sounds about right." It goes on to
I know where this
describe-
is going.
It's like old man says, "You can't stay here. There is a haunting." And they go, "Old man, you are too old and we are too sexy." like that's how they respond.
Oh my god!
I'd watch this movie.
It was. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna post it. It is really funny. It just like they yell at the old man only, and everything is about their youth and sexiness. It's really funny. My favorite part is the very end where the monster comes out and the old man says like the very first helpful thing he said yet, which is, "You guys should get in the car." And they all go, "Let's get in the car." And then it says, it's got the like the stage direction. All the kids run into the house of knives. and then the old man says, "The car's over there." And that's the end of the scene. It's like, I'll find this.
You are too old and we are too sexy.
Yeah.
It's a great way to sum it up.
Yeah. It's just immediate disregard in that way. It's perfect.
Oh, did you guys ever see the movie Troll Hunter? It was like a Netflix original.
I have seen it on my you should watch list 400 times. Yeah.
Troll Hunter.
So-
That's the animated thing, right?
I don't think so.
Oh.
At least I'm not. The one I'm talking about is not animated.
Okay.
It's a found footage kind of film. That's obviously not real, but it's a found footage style, and they follow this guy who works for the Norwegian government, and he basically is like super secret guy, and he goes around and kills trolls.
Okay.
And so the whole point of the movie is he's about to retire, and he just as like whatever. And these college kids find him and like, we want to do a documentary about trolls because we think they're real, and they follow him around for like a week while he's just like old and dirty and weird, and it's kind of like the fishing boat scenes from Jaws, where it's just this fucking psycho old dude, but also he's killing trolls. So like, I guess this is a thing. And eventually it gets to the point where they find one of the types of trolls that's like enormous. And one of the cooler parts of the movie is they go to this power facility, and they run these giant industrial power lines all through their mountain range. And they're talking, like the guy's talking to the guy in the room, and he's like, they got this big map of like where all their towers are and where all the lines go. And the reason they're there is because the old guys told him, is like, this isn't really like a national park that's closed off to the public. It's actually just a fenced in area for the trolls. And so all the 80-foot trolls, like the big mountain trolls, this is where they live. And so they go in there, and they're talking to the people, and they're not telling them like they think they're trolls. And so he's talking to one of the workers, and he's pointing at the map. He's like, so where does all this power go? He's like, oh no, he supplies the area and like all this stuff. And he's like, why do the lines just go in a big circle around this mountain range? And he's like, and the guy looks at the map and is like, well, he has no reply. He's like, that is actually kind of odd now that you point that out. Like, I've never thought about that before. And he's like, oh, no reason. And he just wanders off. And because one of the trolls gets out and they have to do something. Anyway, there's a new movie just called Troll on Netflix that's like a continuation of that storyline that has none of the same characters in it. But the new one's not found footage. It's just like Godzilla, but Norwegian. Like the 2000s Godzilla movie. Mm-hmm. So much better.
I've actually heard different takes on that one. Like, it pops up and people will mention it, and like,
it's a solid movie.
Interesting.
The weird part is it's dubbed, so it's spoken in English, but that's not what the characters are speaking in. So it's dubbed over, and so if you don't like that, it'll probably bother you. But the voice acting's fine. It's just like if you watched what's it called, Squid Game,
yeah,
like, you'll be accustomed to it. But so like their mouths won't match up with the words, but it's a good movie.
Ooh, you have 3 marbles. Oh, I only have 2. Mm-hmm. You seem to have more than me. Throw yours. No, I will throw mine.
Yeah.
I have 1 episode left of Bloodlines.
Oh, God. You're still watching that?
It's not over.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, it's gonna be. Here's the take. I'm just gonna imagine what is happening is everyone's standing in a room pointing guns at each other, and that's the last scene of Bloodlines. Oh, I mean, here's the thing, though.
Nailed it.
If you can have an entire group of people, like all family members, let's say a handful...
And they're just all shitty.
All shitty, but...
all have these dark, guarded secrets of how they murdered a hobo for $5. Like,
let's just say 8. You have 8 people that have these horrible secrets and have done horrible murdery things. And all 8 of them have decided, regardless of outcome, no matter what you ask, what you say, or what you do, they will lie. What do you do about
for no
that?
reason.
You can't go to court. If you go to court and they lie, you're never going to catch them. They just lie.
Well, as long as you bury the evidence deep enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's
or
completely
feed it to sharks.
Insane.
Yeah.
But the good news is they are like crumbling under it. Like they're just like collapsing under.
There's eventually there's just nowhere to stand on the burning bridge that you set on fire. Like, there's just nowhere left to go.
It's pretty crazy.
You want to know what show just pissed me off every time I watched it? But like, my friend of mine was watching it, and we lived together, so like I could not watch it.
Oh, God.
Because it was like when I was in high school, and it was called Weeds.
Oh, Weeds?
I don't know if anybody here has seen Weeds.
I've watched it.
Yeah.
But Weeds. The plot of it is basically there's this dumb, stupid woman that has children.
Genius.
And she just progressively makes worse and worse decisions throughout the show. And is never, ever, ever punished for them. And in fact is many a times rewarded for it. And it just jumps the shark every season on how stupid she can be and not get punished for it. And it's just like, it's so infuriating for me to watch. Like, normally in this situation, you would be shot to death. But instead, I guess we're just going to not hold anyone accountable for this situation.
Yeah, I've only watched about 3 or 4 episodes of that just randomly.
Yeah. It is.
Whatever.
I actually like the actress who plays the main character, but God, that show is annoying. Anyway, I'm going to pee real quick, and then we can get started. I'll be right back.
Aaron, have you started any additional characters, or are you just running your male bull straight through everything?
I have 2 characters I'm playing with my kids.
Gotcha.
Perrin's in a theater production this weekend, so he's been super, super busy because he's actually the lead. So
Yeah.
those characters are sitting on about level 10.
Yeah. So does everybody have to have their own copy of that game?
Yep. I spent $210.
Woo!
Yeah.
Made of money.
That's a lot of time, though. Like it's a cool game. I mean, you're going to get plenty of use out of that.
Yes, I don't regret. I probably will not regret anything. I don't regret my purchase at all. And I imagine that we are going to get hours of fun with me and the kids just playing co-op and having a good time.
The one thing that is nice about the PlayStation is the only thing I had to do was have an additional BattleNet account, which is its own excitement. But the boys can play with me with an additional controller, and they run around on the same screen. One thing I found to be fun is I was dragging my brother around. He would be away from the keyboard, basically AFK, and then I would just drag him through levels.
Mm-hmm.
Not levels like leveling him, but we were trying to get somewhere, and I'm like, I jump on my horse, and he didn't have a horse because he wasn't at the right level, and I'm like, grab your tits. It would just run straight in a direction because it's on the same screen or whatever, and it would teleport him across. It was pretty funny.
Nice.
What are we talking about?
Tits.
On the PlayStation, we were playing multiplayer, so 2 of us are on the same screen, and he didn't have a horse yet. So my brother was at like level, 5 or 10 or whatever, and I was level 40 at the time, and I'm just dragging him around. So I jump on my horse, and I go tearing ass across the screen, and as long as he didn't touch the controller or try and do anything, he would start teleporting, so I could drag him all over the place very quickly. So just randomly, I just found out how to do that.
You guys ready?
Yeah, we should
I've been
talk
ready.
about
I
my
was ready
tournament over the weekend
yesterday.
at some point.
You played in a tournament?
Yeah,
Why didn't you tell me?
I did. You said I can't go. You posted some pic of shame in the Discord that I don't know what it meant, but...
Pick of shame. I don't remember any of this.
What? Go back and look in the podcast Discord, you jackass.
Let's see. Podcast, Discord.
I don't recall. What is Discord?
Not ringing any... Oh. Oh, you don't get the joke?
Clearly not.
Okay. So you posted the round 4 pairings where you were playing Quentin.
Yes.
And you guys, I'm sure to that point, were still friends. And then, so in this scene, they're basically like, well, we should definitely use diplomacy. And then the guy goes, no. And he like loads the shotgun. He's like, shame. Like, that's the joke.
Oh, okay.
Have you never seen that meme before?
No.
It's the Hot Fuzz shame meme where the guy's just putting shells in the shotgun. He's like, shame. We really tried.
We should use diplomacy. That's pretty good. I haven't seen
that
either.
meme is commonly used in role-playing games when you're like, all right, well, we need you to give us the artifact so that we can save the world. And he's like, no, it's mine. He's like, but if you don't give it to us, we're going to have to take it by force. And he's like, no. And you're like, all right, like, we tried. Like, shoots him in the face. It's like, we're 5 adventures. You're some old guy. Like, it's not going to go well for you. All you did was remove all the guilt, like, by refusing to help us.
It's also a wonderful moment from Hot Fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hot Fuzz is a great movie.
That tournament is what I went to.
Yeah. I remember now. I was
Okay.
just kidding. I did forget for a while. It's been a long week.
It has been an awful 3 days.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Oh boy. I was worried we were going to run long because we were at like an hour 30 when we got like halfway through the list. I was like, oh boy.
Very tired.
Yeah, you look tired. I was worried you were going to fall asleep.
I'm not going to fall asleep, but I'm fucking done.
Parker, when are you going to play Diablo?
We have no time for this. Wrap it up.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to him after.